This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Very, 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 Mickey, Pishy, Pishy!
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
And then Shibata comes back with Chapin fucking. That's a tremendous conversation.
And Rich Craich.
I live a horrible existence, so. Alright, AAA.
Very hard on yourself just for never being on a boat. I mean,
well, why don't I know anybody who owns a boat? And we are live here on the Flagship Podcast. I'm Rich Craich. He's Joe Lanza. Joe, what's happening?
How are you?
I'm doing all right, So I got a question for you, Joe.
All right.
You are, the house you currently live in, you are the only resident that has ever lived in that house, correct? Nobody else lived at that address that you know of.
You mean, am I the original owner of the house?
Correct. That's probably a better way to ask the question. Yes. Are you the original owner of the house you're in right now?
Correct.
Okay. I am not. The house I am in has been lived in by many, many people. It was built in like the 1950s. It's gone through a bunch of different people or whatever. And as such, I get a ton of other people's mail constantly, including, Joe, Christmas cards.
If you open up someone else's mail, that's a felony.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. Now, it's addressed to your house.
It's my house, my address. I didn't know. I just opened it.
So I don't know the legalities on that because it is addressed to your house.
I'm sick of
Listen,
this.
you don't know. You've got your little envelope
This could
opener.
be for me. I don't know. I opened.
That's right.
I opened this envelope, and I was, to my surprise, I don't know these people, but I didn't know that when I opened the envelope.
You just go envelope by envelope, and you just open your mail.
Yeah, I have the little cutter that you do, the little.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
Do you have the little envelope opener?
No,
You don't have one of those.
I literally open maybe 4 pieces of mail a month. 95% of it goes right in the trash without ever being opened, or just ripped up immediately. Or if it's necessary, I just put my finger in there and just rip a goddamn giant paper cut on my finger to open it.
Okay, well now I know what to get you for Christmas.
There you go. Yes, yeah.
You need one of those little envelope opener gimmicks.
Those do cut well, though, man. If I it's just nice little. The OCD in me just loves the slice of a nice envelope opener.
I feel like back in the 30s, those doubled as murder weapons. Right? When people were actually using those things.
Well, then they were probably just using straight up knives at that point, right?
Just a straight blade?
Yeah, I think so. Because it'd be hard to murder somebody with the ones they have now, because they have like the plastic covers on them and stuff. But I suppose you could break it apart and stab somebody with the blade. So
you know a lot about envelope openers for a man who claims not to own one.
I've used them before. It's not like just because I don't currently own one doesn't mean I don't know anything about envelope openers.
I don't know. Too many details. This is very as they say on the streets, sus.
Very sus. Yeah. We're gonna say a lot of things that the kids are saying these days. I can't wait.
As they say on NXT 2.0,
yeah, right.
You're sounding very sus, Rich.
They have not said that on NXT 2.0, and in the current rate of like pop culture relevancy that NXT 2.0 has, they're not gonna say sus until like 2027 on that show. So
yeah, they're way behind.
Yeah, they're at least 6 or 7 years behind.
Pretty sure Vic Joseph dropped a mad dope the other day, so they're a little behind. They're still in the 90s.
It is a leather jacket.
Well, no, they're cool clothes from their own definitely from their own closets, right?
right.
Definitely their own cool clothes from what is definitely their own closets, and not what WWE is providing them and their idea of what cool clothes is. Because Wade Barrett would definitely wear like what was the T-shirt he was wearing the other day of one of those NXT wrestlers? Do you remember which one it was?
Oh yeah, shoot. Yeah. Which one was it? It was pretty ridiculous.
Regardless, the point here is he would not be wearing that on his own underneath a suit jacket. Like, you know, that's not what Wade Barrett like wears out on a date. Is he married or does he go on dates?
Wade Barrett. I don't know the current relationship status of one Wade Barrett. No idea.
Who?
Wade Barrett.
Wade Barrett.
Bad news.
You can't say the R's. The Brits don't say the R's.
They don't. They do not.
No. So, yeah, you're right. You caught me. They wouldn't say sus. That's because that's what people really are saying.
Right. That's the current pop culture. You know, that's a current phrase. So there's no way, they would do that. So, but they, as Sean Cedar points out in the chat room, they do say drip for their new merchandise, which.
Well, no one says drip anymore.
Is that true? I don't know. I don't know anymore. I'm officially at the age where I don't get it anymore. So
the only people that say drip are people in wrestling. Those are the only people that say drip anymore. No one says drip. I'm told it was a toxic attraction.
He's a big fan of JC Jane or whatever the hell. So
yeah.
GG Dolan. So I mean, I could see Wade. I could see Wade shooting a shot with a toxic attraction shirt. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? You know?
Isn't he like 20 years older?
Yeah. Well, what's the worst that could happen? They're legal adults. You know what? You know.
Hey, Rich the libertarian over here. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the worst that could happen is he bangs one of them. Is that what you're getting at?
No. Just goes and hangs out with them. I'm not talking about banging.
Oh,
just,
hangs out.
Yeah,
yeah. They're just gonna go
catch a movie. Catch a movie.
Yeah, right. Understood.
Spider-Man, whatever the new fucking dumb Spider-Man movie is, they're gonna go watch that one. So
go see the new Spider-Man with the my 5-year-old said sus the other day.
Oh, well, now you know.
He caught it from the YouTube videos
that
he's watching all the time.
Man.
He goes, that's sus, Dad. That's sus. I said, what'd you just say?
He call you mid, too? He said, you're mid, Dad.
Hasn't dropped a mid yet, but...
Hopefully not, yeah.
He said something was sus.
He said something was sus. Wow.
Yeah. I can't remember.
He's 5? Wow.
Yeah. Well, not even. He doesn't turn 5 for like 2 weeks.
And he's dropping sus on you. Holy crap.
Dropping sus. Yeah, that's sus, Dad. That's sus. They watch YouTube. Yeah, he watches these. You got to help me out here. He's into this Minecraft.
Okay.
At 4 years old.
Yeah.
Is this bad for a 4-year-old?
No. Minecraft's good. Minecraft's
fine.
Good.
Okay,
yeah.
Right.
No, Minecraft's
good.
What
about Minecraft YouTube videos with these dorks with their faces in the corner and they're playing Minecraft?
I think that's fine. Yeah, Minecraft's fun. I mean, it's all about like building stuff and collecting resources and doing that. Yeah, it's a pretty okay game for children. I would have almost no problem if a kid, like I personally, I think it's not a bad thing at all if a kid got into Minecraft. I don't know about watching other people play Minecraft. I don't know if it's the same.
He watches them play on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that gives you the same amount of like, brain activity that like actually playing it would. But hey, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. So there's worse things he could be watching. He could be watching Call of Duty videos. So hey, Minecraft's not bad.
He's playing the game on his tablet. And I'm
okay.
Like,
yeah, no, it's a fine game. It's fine for.
I'm like, how do you win? He's like, you don't
win, idiot.
Like, then what's the point? Like what's happening here? Like, what are you doing?
You don't win. You just build.
And he's talking about pickaxes and I'm like, well, what's the point? There has to be a way to win. So
you want the kill screen. You want the Minecraft kill screen to know that the game is over.
Well, yeah. Well, like, what the fuck is the point? So I Googled it and I brought him over. I said, get over here, 4-year-old. You're wrong. You can win. You have to kill something.
You killed a big monster. Yeah, you killed a big monster, whatever, right?
The Ender Dragon is what it's called.
Okay.
I'm like, look. I'm like, get over here and look. I'm grabbing him by the shirt collar. I'm like, look, see, you can win. You got to go through the portal and kill the Ender Dragon. So what's up, boy? And he said he wasn't aware of that. I'm like, well, you watch all these videos and you play the game. You figure you'd know how to win the game. Doesn't make sense to me. When I played Tecmo Super Bowl, Rich, I knew how to win. I knew what the objective was. It was to win the fucking Super Bowl at the end. Right? Run up as many rushing yards as you can get. I asked this kid. He's like, oh, you don't win. Like, what the fuck is the point? Now I'm aggravated about this Minecraft. Nice, sounds like a nice little Christmas card. You get to hang it up on the fucking...
I might. You know what? Because I don't get actual Christmas... Nobody sends me Christmas cards. Because none of my friends send me Christmas cards. No. My parents don't send me... Because why would they send me a Christmas card? Like, my family... I sometimes will get some trickles from a family member or two, but even those have slowed down because they're like, Rich is kind of an asshole. And I'm like, yeah, I don't go to their dumb parties and stuff, so I don't get, like, these cards. So, it's starting to dwindle. It's starting to dwindle, for sure.
I used to get dozens, and then I never sent one back ever. So
That's
now
probably the same thing that.
So they would slowly trickle. Now I get like 2.
Yeah.
You still have the persistent family members who they're just going to send one anyway, and they probably have no clue that you're even sending one back. They're just so wrapped up in their own ego and sending their own.
Yeah. My mom has gotten this one from this one person that she worked with like 40 years ago, like legitimately 40 years ago, she worked with this person, and every single year, boom, here it is, and here I am with 6 paragraphs about what all my dumb kids are doing, and what Big Ten colleges they're graduating from, and what dumb jobs they have, and it's just like, And my mom has never sent one back, never said thank you, doesn't know this person's number, doesn't, like, it's a one-way conversation every single time. But you got to imagine, like, if my mom is still getting those cards from this lady that she worked with 40 years ago, can you imagine how many of these things she's churning out?
That's what I mean. So that woman has no clue who's sending back and who isn't.
No, yeah, she can't.
Yeah. We get two. There's one aunt on my side who sends it every year, and then Brittany has a cousin on her side, the one that has the son named Shooter.
Shooter. Oh, I'm glad Shooter sends a card. That's good.
Yeah, the Shooter family, we get one from the kid named Shooter.
It makes Mason Wesley really sound a little bit more distinguished when.
I mean, it's going to be ironic when he
Shooter
literally turns into one, because if your name's Shooter, well, let's not go down that road. But yeah, the kids call him Shoo Shoo. They refuse to call him Shooter.
Shoo.
Yeah. So.
And this is a human, not a dog.
This is a human being.
This is a human.
This is a 4-year-old human being named Shooter. Cowboy hat rocking 4-year-old.
This kid actually sounds awesome, by the way. I've never met him. He actually rocks. That kid's gonna slay for the next 20 years.
Never had a conversation with him. I don't know.
Yeah, Shooter's gonna slay. Once he gets to middle school and high school, Shooter's gonna rock. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Oh, you think with the ladies?
Yeah, I think so.
Business.
His name is Shooter. You know what I mean?
His name is Shooter. He's gonna have his little hat. He's gonna have his Star Stranglers.
Right.
Little knife on his belt.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Shooter's gonna kill it.
Shoo Shoo.
Shoo is probably killing it at the daycare right now.
He's gonna be crushing it, Shoo Shoo, huh?
I think
All
so.
right, maybe it's possible. We are talking about a 4-year-old here.
Yeah.
But,
Well,
we're
stalling for time because we're gonna wait for Dynamite to end, and then we're gonna really get the show going. So the first 2 hours of the show are gonna be garbage.
We're not gonna do that because if you blew us off for Dynamite, it serves you right. And
we know who you are. We have names. We know names.
We know who you are, and by the time you jump into this show, you're going to have to listen to the NWA Hard Times 2 review.
We're talking about the good stuff. The living legend Melina, and yeah, you're going to have to deal with that. So
you want the good stuff? You show up on time. Okay? That's how it works around here. So
you want the big Gunner versus Bram grudge match? Then yeah, that's what you're going to get. So
yes.
Anyway,
without question, I have a lot to say about that show.
About Bram versus Gunner. Yeah, that was a show. Yeah, we're gonna definitely. I think we definitely have to make that. Like, I'm gonna keep my eye on the clock, and I think we need to start that like at 9:00 on the dot. Just so people.
I don't think Bram and Gunner were on that show, were they?
Yeah.
Just Bram, right?
No, Gunner. No, yeah, you're right. Gunner wasn't on there. Gunner was not on there.
Neither Gunner.
All right, Gunner. Yeah, right. Right.
There's multiple Gunners running around for a while there. I think one got canceled.
Didn't they both get canceled? I guess Jackson Riker.
Yeah, he's the other Gunner.
He's the other Gunner. Yeah, I think the first Gunner got canceled too. I think they both kind of.
Well, okay, the one Gunner got real canceled. Like, he's just gone now.
Yes, correct.
The other Gunner got canceled, but like the way that normal people use the term canceled.
Like, everybody just said, "You suck, dude," and then like it just kind of went away.
And now everyone hates him, but he was still like on the roster. But like, he got canceled in the sense that most people consider he got Joe Lanza canceled. Like, he got canceled, right? But like, you'll have these extreme leftists be like, "Well, no one really gets canceled." But when people say someone's canceled, they don't mean that they have spontaneously combusted and they're off the earth. When people say someone's canceled, they just mean that they got dogpiled and fucking canceled. And that's what happened to the one Gunner. But the other Gunner, like, really got canceled.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And when I said, I meant to say Magnus when I said Gunner, and I've created a very confusing.
How dare you confuse these 2011
TNA British Invasion? This British Invasion names.
And you could also be thinking of Murphy. Didn't Murphy team with Gunner?
Yeah, Murphy was Gunner and Murphy. Yeah, and that is Judas, who was also on this show. Yeah,
right. So
who's who of 2011 Impact for sure, which is always something you want. The successful strategy is always to do as much of 2011 Impact as you possibly can. So,
who was the one with the signed a new contract meme?
Bram. That was Bram. Yeah, that was
Bram.
the one with John Gaborik and Bram all the time.
Tom Latimer, right?
Yeah,
Tom Latimer is the TNA has re-signed Bram, right? Like every 6 months they'd re-sign Bram. That was
hot debate. Yeah, and it was tough. It was tough getting at the table and coming to terms with Bram, though. I mean, he had a lot of suitors out there, obviously.
I can still picture that photo of
John
Bram
Gaborik, he's all like sunburnt and whatnot. He's sitting there shaking Bram's hand in front of the Impact, the blue Impact, video board, and just kind of saying, "We've come to terms on a new contract with Bram."
Do you remember the Dixie Carter, TJ Perkins MILF porn setup video?
Yes.
Do you remember that one?
I do.
Which was totally like the first 8 minutes of a MILF porn. And,
it was just like a white wall, right?
Yeah, there's just an empty room with a fucking.
And she's like, "Hey,
table.
TJ," and he's like, "Hey, Dixie." You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he's like being all shy and like all shucks about
Yeah.
And she's doing all the talking, And it was just,
it was a pretty, if I remember correctly, it was a mildly revealing blouse as well. It wasn't, he
looked like the kind of guy that'd be in a MILF porn, and she looked like, she had the look of a lady that would be in a MILF porn.
Stepmom teaches son.
Absolutely,
like one of those bizarre stepmom ones that they have.
Yeah, this would have been like a workplace version, but it was totally like a
right.
Or stepmom. With the friend, with the son's friend, like that one. That's what it was. It was totally a setup for that. That's still got to be on YouTube somewhere, right?
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, if you look up TNA President Dixie Carter presents TJ Perkins (parentheses AK Manic parentheses) with his TNA contracts.
Yeah.
You know what? Should we just play it? Fuck it, let's play it. What are we doing here? We're not doing anything. All right.
People can't hear it.
So you won't. Well, no, they will be able to hear it. You will not, Joe. I'm sorry.
Oh, what the fuck? Well, hold on. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, pull it up. Pull it up.
Out. We can do the duel.
Yeah, pull it up.
All right,
do you need the link in our Google? Do you need the link in our Google?
Hold on. I'm on the YouTube.
Look up TNA President Dixie Carter. Oh, it is so erotic. I forget. Just the first image you get. She's like looking like, she's. I think TJ could have sealed the deal here if he really wanted to. I mean, really sealed the deal if you ask me. You know what I mean? Like that's.
Oh, 3-minute video.
Yeah.
All right, is it 1, 2, 3, go, or 1, 2, 3 and hit it on the 3, or
hit 1, 2, 3, go and hit it on the go? I think.
Then hit on the go.
Now, have you gotten through the ad? Get through the ad.
Hold on.
Yeah, get through the ad.
No ad. Hold on,
you're good.
On.
Okay.
Right.
Take it to the zero. Take it to the zero.
Let me take it to the 0. He says, "How you doing?" Hold on. All right, I'm ready. Okay, so on the 3, do I hit play?
No, go. 3 or 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, go, and we'll do
3,
it. How
2,
about that?
1, go.
Yeah,
Not
let's
1,
do that.
2. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, and then I'm hitting play when you say go.
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right. I think
Are you ready?
Got it.
All right.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
How are you doing?
Are you doing good?
Yes, I'm doing very well.
This is such porn.
I
Look at this.
have been thinking about you so much since we talked.
Oh, she's been thinking about it so much.
That's what I'm saying.
Your
Yes.
story blew me away. You have worked so hard. You brought me to tears.
Look at him.
that
He's got like
night.
the
You were
head,
in
the
tears.
fucking.
Yeah.
All you've gone through. I wish
And this
a
is
lot
like
of
8
guys
years ago. He
who
looked like he
have
was
made
8.
it in this business would
He's so
sometimes
young
sit back
looking,
and
yeah.
think about all they've gone through, and then to know what you've had to deal with just puts things in a whole
Totally his
perspective.
best friend's mom.
But
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's the
and
vibe
there's
she's
something
putting out
about
here.
that
Absolutely,
costume
yeah.
When you put it on, you just shine. And from the minute you've walked out, you've captured people and have brought cheers to that costume on a level we've never heard before.
He's just trying.
And I'm so
He's
proud
just
of
trying to
you.
come
And
over and
I
play
wanted
some
to
video
offer
games.
Yeah, right. She goes into the other room to.
contract
He's like going to the refrigerator or whatever. She's like, "Hey, what are you
official
doing?"
member
Like,
of our
just getting some
stand-up
snacks.
here.
Like,
and no one more deserving. And we're
The other
very
part of this is
excited,
look how
and I'm
humiliated
very
he
excited
looks. Like,
he's biting
about
his
what you
bottom
can
lip
do
the whole
for
time.
our
Yeah.
X division. And
like he knows this video stinks.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You know, TJP knows that this video stinks.
what'd
Yeah.
you say?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Happy for you.
Oh, here we go.
Oh.
Here.
You've worked hard for it.
TJ's pulling back on that hug. Let me tell you, he wasn't all in on that.
He knows this stinks.
No more sleeping outside the venue.
Oh, she's touching the leg.
No.
Here we go.
So condescending. No more sleeping outside the venue.
I'm a workaholic, so now it'll be by choice if I do.
Wow. This is your time.
Not an all-time promo from TJ Perkins, parentheses, aka Manic, parentheses. So
Rich, he knows this stinks. And I don't think he's legit. I don't think he's like happy about that.
no, he doesn't appear. It appears like they just let him know like 2 minutes before, hey, we're gonna have you sign your contract and we're gonna do it on a YouTube video. So
how far you've come.
His
I'm not gonna ask you to sign a
2013
contract you haven't
non-exclusive
seen.
Impact contract.
I'm not that kind of person, but I tell you what I am gonna do. I'm gonna sign it.
He knows everyone's gonna roast him for this.
Yeah, for sure.
On his face. That's the look on his face.
he probably just got done arguing with me about Kobe too, so he's extra upset. So
Without question, that's the days when he was arguing with me about Kobe.
Thank you.
Ready to have some fun?
Absolutely.
ready to have some fun?
It's been fun the whole
Absolutely.
time. Now it really gets to be fun.
Oh,
Don't ever forget how hard you worked to get to this point. You know, don't let that go to your head. Just always remember that.
he'd be plowing her on this table.
You can
for
inspire a
sure,
lot
yeah.
of
By
people
now, by
to
3 minutes in,
improv
yeah,
if
for
you
sure, yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing and
Right when she said you're ready to have some fun.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
That's when the blouse comes off and yeah, it's on. So there you go.
Total setup of a MILF porn video.
Absolutely.
Without question.
So
Was
hopefully,
what that looked and felt
hopefully you
like.
went and saw it on your own as well. So
Yeah.
oh my god, yeah, that's an all timer right there.
I think we had this. I think in 2013 we did the same bit on the show.
We probably did. It was awesome. I will do that bit every year for every 5 years. I'm fine doing that bit because that is
every 8 years, like a comet. We're gonna every 8 years or so we're gonna do that same exact bit again because we definitely did that 8 years ago in real. I remember doing that bit on this show with that TJP MILF porn video. Yeah, so
that's the best take. Like they didn't have another take. They couldn't like him being like her saying, well, now you don't have to sleep outside the venue, and him going, well, I'm a hard worker, so now it'd be my choice. You know, like what?
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, it's just he.
Yeah, because he's a decent enough talker, but he knew it sucked. He had no idea what to say. He's like, do you want me to act like I'm actually excited about this non-exclusive Impact contract? Like it's
yeah.
Can I look at the contract? Can I look at the details? Like, what am I signing here? Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
That's the other thing. Like, he obviously this wasn't sprung on him in this 3-minute video, so he has to not only pretend that he's excited about it, he has to pretend that she's presenting him with this big surprise too. So the whole thing is just a disaster from the start, and you know that he's not all that excited about it. So yeah, the whole thing was just a mess
in front of the beige brick wall. It's quite the scene. So, all right, there you go. That is our flashback to 2011. Just a little precursor of what you're going to get an hour through when we flash back to 2011 TNA as well with NWA Hard Times. But let's get to, I guess, speaking of a flashback to 2011 TNA, this is a great segue to a flashback to 2011 TNA. Raw this week. The Raw rating was horrific. An abysmal rating for Raw, an absolutely horrible rating for NXT. We'll get to them in a bit. We're going to start with this Raw rating first off, though. 1,599 total viewers, but that is, not good.
I sure hope it was more than 1,599.
Oh, sorry, 1 million. Did I say 1,000? Yes, it was slightly more than 1,000. 1,599,000 total viewers. But the more important number here, 18 to 49, 0.35, 462,000 viewers, the lowest 18 to 49 for Raw on record, Joe.
Yeah. What else is there to say? I mean, it's the lowest rated Raw ever in the modern era. And it's just, it's so disappointing. You know, I talked about this on a solo show a couple weeks ago. Just the way the wrestling media handles this stuff, it's just so disappointing. I mean, this is, I woke up today and I woke up to a message from you with some of the stuff we were going to go over on the show. And then you said to me, And I guess we have to go over this Raw rating, because remember, the Raw rating was delayed a day. And I was like, I haven't even seen it. I just rolled out of bed. And you sent it to me.
This is at 11:45 a.m., by the way, for the record. So
why you got to call me out? Why you got to call me out like that? I'm a man of leisure. We all know this. So you send me the numbers, and I see that 0.35, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this show is completely, this is the lead topic. I mean, how can this not be the lead topic? It's the all-time low rating for Monday Night Raw. It has to be the lead topic. So we're like, okay, yeah, we have to lead off the show with this. It's very obvious. And then I'm just, perusing around, catching up on the day, and looking at Twitter and some of the bigger websites. And we have Pro Wrestling Insider with the Mike Johnson. And what's his headline? Raw slightly down from last week is this man's headline. I have Raj Giri telling the world that they made a star last night in Liv Morgan, and they need to follow up on that star-making performance from Liv Morgan, which drew the lowest Raw rating in the history of the show.
Yeah, wait till we get to the hour 3 and the demographics in that hour 3, by the way, as well. Bloodbath.
Which, by the way, Rich, did you see the match? I know you're.
I did. Yeah, I did see the match. It was.
You did. So you know that the crowd didn't give a fuck.
No, and it was a perfectly, as your boy would say, the match was mid, Joe.
So I have to listen to some of the top pundits
in wrestling. A star is born.
Talk about how they made a star in Liv Morgan and how they got to keep this push going. When the show did the worst rating it's ever done in its history, the match wasn't any good. The crowd didn't care, which is the most important thing. Another major podcast on a major wrestling site did a podcast today, and I shit you not, Rich, the lead topic, okay, of this podcast is, and I quote, is AEW slowing down, end quote. That was the lead topic on another major podcast today, co-hosted by one of the top people, pundits and reporters, or whatever you want to call it in the industry, is AEW slowing down. On the day that Monday Night Raw did its worst rating ever, their lead topic is AEW slowing down. This is what the wrestling media has come to. And I'm not going to stop banging this drum, because it's incredible to me. The only person today who didn't completely embarrass themselves, besides us, okay, is Dave Meltzer. As usual, he's the only one who didn't completely embarrass himself. Because what did Dave do? He recognized what the biggest story of the day was. It wasn't Liv Morgan is a breakout star, fake story. It wasn't whatever the fuck. The big story today was Raw did its lowest rating of all time. So Dave dug in, and he investigated, and he did a great front story on his front page that I'll give a little plug-a-roo here, explaining how that number came to be and what happened in the third hour and everything else, because he's the only one with a clue. The only one. This is by far the biggest story in wrestling today. You wouldn't know it. We're busy putting over Liv Morgan because we're afraid of stands. And that's what it is. These people are afraid of the stands. So we're putting over Liv Morgan today. When Liv Morgan drew the lowest rating in the history of the show and wasn't over in the building. What are we doing? What are we doing is what I'd like to know. It's rhetorical, Rich. I'm not asking you. Because what we're doing is the right thing. We're leading off our show with it after a half hour of banter. We're leading off our show with the biggest topic of the day, which is this pathetic Raw rating.
It is, yeah, and like I mentioned, the bigger story to me isn't necessarily, I mean, the lowest Raw rating is obviously a massive story. The lowest 18-49 for Raw on record. It was up against a Monday Night Football game, a pretty important Monday Night Football game, a fun Monday Night Football game. It was the snowed-in Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots game or whatever. It got really good ratings, and obviously that was a game. But, yeah, it's football. It's not going anywhere. It's Monday Night Football. It's going to be there. And Monday Night Football has been there in prior years. So that doesn't immediately excuse for the 18-49 being down and the lowest on record again. But to me, the bigger story and the bigger thing to kind of identify and look at and really analyze is the demographics and how they fell and really where Raw is at this point in 2021, and where Raw is going in the future, and where, you know, the quote unquote stars of this company and people, again, we need to have some sort of powwow, moratorium, something on the word star. We got to be a little bit more selective of what we use with stars. You know, when we say the term star, I have started to say star with a lowercase s and star with a capital S, because the lowercase s gets thrown around all the time. Oh, that person's a star. They made a star. This guy's a star. She's a star. We hear it all the fucking time. Star. Everybody said, let's talk capital S stars from now on, right? Is that okay? Like, we really reserve that for people that actually draw ratings, people that do not draw record low ratings, people that actually get people to buy tickets, people that actually get, you know, viewers to watch shows. Let's maybe reserve the term star for those people and not just people that are pushed on a fake pro wrestling show, because that is a dangerous way that we've gone down. I mean, WWE has won that war because they kind of made superstar everything, and now everybody just basically uses star for, like, this person is pushed, they're a star, or
But
this
these
person
people
can be a
also-
star when
But these
they've
people
nothing.
but these people also constantly fall for this. This is a real tweet. Quote, agreed. That was a star-making performance by Liv. Now WWE has to follow through. End quote. When did they ever follow through?
And now I'll sit back and wait for World Wrestling Entertainment to follow through. All right.
And not only that,
And now I'm a
what
skeleton.
about-
Yeah. That's
and not only that, what about that performance on Monday screamed star-making
it
in any way,
was-
shape, or form?
Joe, it was the main event. So
Rich, no one gave a fuck.
nobody gave a shit, and nobody was watching it anymore. So even if it was even if it was a star-making performance, nobody knows because nobody was watching the goddamn show by hour 3.
These people just say words.
Yes, well, and that's largely
The words
that's what
have to mean something.
we've gotten to that point, especially with the wrestling media, and especially with just I think largely, and we're probably guilty of this before. You know, before we stopped posting on Twitter, you just have to fill space. You have to tweet at time. You know what I mean? Like, and you don't realize that you're in that, you know, that rat race until you get out of it and realize, like, wait, I don't have to just say something. I don't have to just react to something. I can actually let something simmer, analyze something, you know, with some sort of intelligence or whatever. And I don't necessarily just have to say something to say something. And I think that's largely the problem, is like, you can't go silent for 5 minutes. If you're quote unquote live tweeting Raw, you just have to say stuff constantly. And it leads to people just saying stuff like that, or you know, just filling the time with just mindless dribble like this that has no basis in reality or research or understanding or history or anything.
Rich, I promise you that neither you nor I have ever tweeted that somebody put forth a star-making performance when they had a match that had no heat in the main event of a show that drew a 6.73 rating on Cage Match, a middling match that no one in the building cared about. I can promise you that neither you nor I have ever tweeted, that was a star maker. They got to follow that one up. They would have tweeted that no matter what, because it was Liv, and they fear the stands. Can we finally be honest about this? I talked about this 3 weeks ago, and you know, it's just like, it's almost like they're proving me right on purpose. What about any of that screams star-making performance?
It's been a banner week. I have to say, I don't know what you did to the space-time continuum, but ever since your rant a couple weeks ago, it has been one thing after another in this wrestling media space, and it has been a rough go over the last 2 weeks. So I don't know what you did or what you awoke in, but yeah, it has caused quite the kerfuffle in the wrestling media scene. I'll tell you that.
I mean, and we heard the same thing with Cora Jade the night before.
Cora Jade.
I'm not kidding. Star-making performance.
You know what's awesome? I don't know any of this stuff's ever being said anymore because I don't even look at the damn thing anymore. So it's
and you would think that after everybody
wait, hold on. This was after WarGames when she fell off the
Games.
Okay.
You would think that after this alleged star-making performance of Cora Jade, these aren't my words. These are the words of the pundits of people who get paid to cover wrestling, that the show would have done a monster number on Tuesday because, well, Rich, they made a star. It was a star-making performance. NXT did under 600,000 viewers and a 0.11, tying their all-time low. And it speaks to what you're talking about. People just throw the word star around. They just throw it around. It doesn't have to mean anything. Because in that company, it doesn't mean anything. They call everyone a superstar. As long as someone's getting a modicum of a push, fans will think that they're stars. But people who get paid to cover wrestling should know better. They should know better. And the problem is a lot of them don't. That's the problem. It's too easy to just say they're doing it for nefarious. I think a lot of these people just don't know. We need better people covering wrestling. We need more people like me and you, quite honestly. I'll say it.
Yeah. No, that'd be good. People like Brandon Thurston,
more
too.
People like Dave Meltzer and Brandon Thurston and people who know what they're talking about covering wrestling. And not people who just spit out words that don't mean anything. Star-making performance? I mean, Cora Jade was fine in that match.
Yeah, she was decent. She was pretty good. She was pretty good in that match.
Close to the worst person in the match. We'll get to that.
Oh God, no. Oh God, no. She wasn't anywhere near the worst in that match.
There's someone in that match who I think needs to go back to fucking mothballs in the training school and needs to be off TV. But we'll get to that. Okay. And Cora Jade, that match was designed for her to be the kayfabe star of the match. There's no question. They gave her the biggest spot in the match, and she scored the fall. I have no doubt they're going to push Cora Jade. But there's a difference between the company highlighting someone in a match in the kayfabe sense and that person having a star-making performance. What about that performance was star-making in any way, shape, or form? She did a sloppy flippy-do through a table that didn't look good. Then they did the fake separated shoulder spot with Io Shirai is like Hot Lips Houlihan from MASH going out there, and there's a reference from 50 years ago for you, Rich.
Yeah, my dad. Hopefully my dad's listening because he'll pop for that one. But yeah,
everyone's dad loves MASH.
Okay? Dad loves MASH. He's probably seen every episode hundreds of times at this point. It's always on, constantly.
So she pops the shoulder back in, which came off. I don't know about you, but I thought that spot was very corny.
Super, super corny. Yeah, at first I didn't know what she was doing, and I thought, like, wow, she really did it. But then, like, the crowd kind of was like, yeah. Somebody kind of wanted her to just rip it up. But, yeah.
So you've got, like, the referees on the outside going, Io, no! Don't do it!
Right.
And it's like, the whole point of WarGames is submit or surrender, and the idea is everyone's going to get physically destroyed. And you have the referees out there, pleading.
Yeah, it's WarGames. Oh, nothing's off limits. The bodies will be destroyed and careers altered forever. And they're like, don't hurt her. No.
Yeah, this is a horrible. The spot was terrible. It was embarrassing. Very cringe. But that's not Cora Jade's fault, and it has nothing to do with Cora Jade's performance. That's either here nor there. Then she sold the arm the rest of the match. Not exactly Chris Masters on Superstars in 2011, but she sold the arm well enough. Again, I have no problem with her performance. And then she scored the fall. There was nothing in that performance that was outstanding or transcendent or made you think that this person was going to be the next Stone Cold Steve Austin. But yet, everybody falls for the kayfabe spotlight that she was given. And these people who get paid to cover wrestling spent all day Sunday and Monday telling you that it was a star-making performance from Cora Jade. And it just isn't fair to Cora Jade. She didn't do anything special in that match. It was the beginnings of maybe getting a push, and in that company, who knows? You have any faith in them following through on anything?
God, no. How could you? Because I've watched wrestling for years. No. How could I ever?
But aside from that, she didn't stand out in a special way in that match. These people just don't know what they're talking about. And then that's why they get accused of carrying water, because they put stuff like that out there. So, I don't know. And then you turn around, and the show does a .11 today. Because you know why? No one cares about Cora Jade.
No.
And no one cares about NXT.
They're not, because they're not stars with a capital S. They're superstars.
And no one cares about NXT 2.0 or anybody on the show because it did a .11 coming off their pay-per-view. Which tells you that nothing that happened on that show was a star-making performance. Because the numbers don't lie. And I thought that this week's NXT would do a decent number. Because I thought the Johnny Gargano thing would generate some interest. And
I thought WarGames was a decent show and a newsworthy show. That, I thought there'd be some follow-up to it, for sure.
and no one watched.
No, I mean, I watched live for the first time in a long time just to see the Johnny Gargano thing. I mean, I watched the last half hour to see that, and I thought, oh man, they're going to do a big number here because everybody that I knew was turning it on to see what Johnny Gargano was going to say, and then I wake up today and it's like, oh, okay, no, nobody else watched it. Like it was,
which is scary because I was the same, and I noticed a lot of people in our Discord, which is not a WWE friendly Discord by any means, where our Discord, the WWE room was buzzing. So I thought to myself, oh, they're going to get a lot of viewers tonight they don't normally get because people want to see the Gargano thing. People want to see the follow-up to the pay-per-view. People want to see what happens with Kyle O'Reilly. So I was like, oh, they're going to probably do a decent number by their standards for this show. And then today, 0.11, which was surprising to me. But what it tells you is nothing on that show connected with the greater audience. Nothing, they didn't make any stars. We just got to stop using these words. We got to stop. At least Cora Jade was positioned like they wanted to make a star, though. Liv wasn't. She lost to Becky Lynch.
She lost to the star, to a person that's actually kind of a star.
And maybe she'll get another match, and maybe she'll win the Dopey title, and we all know that doesn't mean anything. But the crowd didn't care, and this wasn't like they made the match 2 hours early. This was a long-term television storyline they built to this match.
Yeah, it's been building for multiple weeks on Raw, so it wasn't like an authority came out and said this is the match tonight, and then it was an hour later the match was happening.
That's what I mean when I say long-term. I'm not trying to say it was Okada Naito at the Dome, like built up over the course of 2 years. I'm just saying it was a television storyline that was playing out, built over the course of a few weeks. It wasn't, like you said, something that, Sonya Deville threw together 45 minutes earlier, and it got nothing in the building. And you could say, oh, all right, maybe the building was tired. Raw always sucks. Maybe these people were just, and that's plausible. But then you turn around, and it's the lowest rated Raw of all time. And if you think it was just men watching the Patriots and the Bills in the snow with the wind, and I get it. That was a big game because the weather drew viewers, because people wanted to see them attempt to play
myself
football.
Included. I was somebody who has not watched a full NFL game in a long, long time, and I was watching a lot of that game on Monday.
Yeah, but when it's 10 degrees and it's a 50-mile-per-hour wind, you're like, oh, I'm watching that shit. So it drew a big number because people like the wacky weather football. So that would explain the men. But Rich, give some of these numbers to, and especially what happened come the third hour in terms of this Becky Lynch Liv Morgan match.
Yeah, what was built all show as being the main event, the big deal, the match, the focal point of the entire show was obviously Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. So this some analysis from Brandon Thurston via Showbuzz Daily as well. 18 to 34 overall people had a 26% drop week over week. Women 18 to 49, 28% drop week over week. And I think one of the more interesting parts about that as well is women 18 to 49 dropped 7% from 8 to 9 p.m., 15% from 9 to 10 p.m., and 21% overall from 8 to 10 p.m. So what that tells you is they tuned into the show, whatever amount of women that were watching the show. And as the show went on, and as they knew that Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan was going to be the main event, and that was going to be the big show, and that was going to be the big part of the hour 3, they left and they didn't watch. They turned the show off and said, I am going to watch something else.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, Liv Morgan fans, you want to say, oh yeah, the Liv stands, the You Only Live Once stands, they're a younger demographic, right, Joe? You would say they're younger folks. Okay, how about 13 to 34? They probably fit into that demographic pretty easily, right?
Seems like what you would think are exactly what would be Liv Morgan fans.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So we have women who weren't very interested in watching two women have a match in the main event, so they stopped watching. 13 to 34 overall, male and female. 14% drop from 8 to 9 p.m., 21% drop from 9 to 10 p.m., and a 32% drop from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. So 32% of the 13 to 34-year-olds that were watching Raw in hour 1 by hour 3 said, fuck this, and stopped watching. 32%.
Yeah.
Of 13 to 34.
The overall drop from hour 1 to hour 3 was the usual overall drop. But where the heavy drops came were younger people, and where the heaviest drops came were women, and younger women. The younger it gets, the more heavily they dropped, the less interested, the younger you were, and the more female you are, the less interested you were in that main event.
Yeah, and Dave Meltzer has this, as you said. So he says, as far as the keys to the drop from hour 1 to hour 3, women 18 to 49 dropped 21%. Men 18 to 49 dropped 8%. So again, women 21%, men, and that's in the 18 to 49 demo. Men 8%, women 21%. Teenage girls dropped 45%, Joe. Yeah. Teenage girls said, fuck this shit, and bounced.
Yep.
Teenage boys dropped 38%. So what we have there is that young girls and women of all ages just basically said, fuck this, I'm good. And the over 50s, they only dropped 10%. So it still went down.
And 10% is the usual drop.
Right, that's a negligible amount. So the over 50s were still into this and said, hey, I'm not going anywhere. The ones that had to go to bed or whatever, or, you know, their TV time is allotted for a certain amount, they were done. Those over 50-year-olds, the geriatrics or whatever, they were done. And the ones that, the normal ones that watched the hour 3 of Raw were stuck with it. So they didn't have a very big drop at all. It was exactly as it is for the over 50s. Very frequently, no. Teenage girls do not drop 45%. Women 18 to 49 do not drop 21%. And teenage boys do not drop 38% as well.
The bottom line is the match and the hour and the third hour did terrible with the people that allegedly you think it would have done well with.
Yeah.
And what do we always say? This idea that women's wrestling draws female viewers. It's never been true, Rich. There's nothing that supports that. It's just shit people say.
Yeah. And you
female
know,
viewers aren't these exotic creatures that they like the same things that men like. They like a good show. That's all. They like a good show. And the younger viewers and the female viewers left this show in droves more so than the average viewer. It was the old men, as usual, who stuck with Raw. So, where's this star-making performance? Where's this? Like, if I'm looking at this, I'm questioning pushing Liv Morgan forward. How can you not? You know? And you don't want to judge anyone on one night and one main event or anything like that. I understand that. But this is not good. There's nothing encouraging here. There was nothing here in her performance, the crowd reactions, or the ratings that suggest that you need to push this person more. You know, it's like, can we at least be honest about these things? And my problem isn't with Liv Morgan. My problem is the horrible performance of the wrestling media, as usual, to point these things out. Unless you're Dave Meltzer, who's the only person who did a good job today. The only one. Unless I'm missing someone. Point him out to me. Dave Meltzer in this show. That's it. So that's what's frustrating to me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and like you said, there's always this idea, and it's never rooted in any sort of reality that, like, oh, well, you know, you have to push, you know, women because that's what women want to watch. So if you have this female demographic out there that isn't being served enough, so you need to, you know, give them women's wrestling, and it's just never ever been the case. And I get some people will say, well, you know, they haven't pushed them well, or they haven't done this, they haven't done that. Okay, that's fine, but like, we know how this company operates. This company isn't going to eat shit for 6 months to hope that, all right, well, if we just keep pushing women, eventually women will start watching. They don't do that. That's not what this company has done. Usually we'll see these spots where they'll put them in a big spot, and yeah, they look at the same numbers we do. You know, they know these numbers. If you're lying to yourself if you don't think that they look at these numbers, that they woke up today and said, holy shit, and looked at these numbers and said, fuck. Yeah, if you want to believe that they're going to go out there next week and main event with Liv Morgan, I mean, more power to you. I don't. Like, I know what these things are looking at. I know what this company looks at, and yeah, just
honestly that they should.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
yeah, but this idea, and we need it. Like, if you want to come with that argument of, oh, well, you know, they need to push more women so more women watch, like, okay, you have to come with some sort of actual facts or some sort of reality to say that, because that has just never, ever been the case. What makes women watch is the same thing, like you said, that makes men watch, that makes 18 to 49 watch, which makes that is a good show with real stars. Like, they'll watch that. They watch that. It doesn't matter. They don't need to be, you know, oh, here's women for you women. They just want a good wrestling show. They just want a good television show. It doesn't matter if it's this person being pushed or that person being pushed.
Get people over.
Yeah, just make stars, get people over, have people that people want to watch. It seems simple, it seems obvious, but that's it. You know, and you know, there's always
get people over anymore. That's the problem. And they didn't get Liv Morgan over. Period. They did not get Liv Morgan over.
Yeah, it's in the numbers right there.
It's obvious. Or in the building. In the numbers, they didn't get her over. Just get people over.
Turns out retweets don't really matter as much as people thought. So retweets some Stan accounts doesn't quite translate to the same business that we thought it would. So weird how that happens.
Yeah, and it's just incredible that you could have a podcast today with the lead of is AEW falling. Rich, last night's Raw. This is from our Discord. Okay, a user by the name of Prince. 2 years ago today, the comparable Raw to 2 years ago today did 2.15 million viewers and a 0.68. Last year's Raw on this date did 1.737 million viewers and a 0.51. Last week, Raw did 1.679 viewers and a 0.46. And this week's Raw did 1.59 million viewers and a 0.35. I mean, how can you lead off with, is AEW falling? I'm going to give you something else. When that's right in front of you, when Raw does their worst number ever, and that's the data in front of you, 2 years ago, they did a 0.68. And they nearly lost half of their viewers in the demo from 2 years ago. Okay? And how can you lead off a podcast with... Can I give you some facts on AEW Dynamite, Rich?
Yeah, Kurt Hawkins, me. I'm ready to face the facts. Let's go.
This, and look, I don't think Dynamite's doing tremendous numbers lately, but I'm going to give you some facts on AEW Dynamite. Did you know for the month of November, for total viewers, Dynamite was up 22% versus last year? Did you know for October they were up 30% versus 2020? Okay, September up 33%, August up 23%, July up 38%, June up 26%, May up 31%, April up 44%, in 18 to 49.
Slowing down.
In April, in 18 to 49, from April of this year through November of this year, up double digits versus last year, every month since April. Yet, we're going to talk about AEW slowing down on a day where Raw put up their worst rating ever and have lost half of their viewers in the demo from 2 years ago. I mean, this is what I was talking about a couple weeks ago. I mean, at least have a clue what you're talking about. A clue. That's all I ask. Have a clue.
Let's move on to NXT here, because that's equally horrific ratings for NXT, and we'll kind of lead that into our NXT 2.0 WarGames review and a little bit of details about what's going on with NXT as well. But this is from F4WOnline.com. Tuesday night's WarGames Fallout edition of WWE NXT averaged 590,000 viewers on the USA Network, down 8% from last week. It's the second lowest audience the show has drawn on the USA Network since moving to Tuesday nights. In the 18 to 49 demo, NXT matched its record low for the USA Network with a 0.11 rating, down 26.7% from last week. NXT ranked 48th on the cable TV charts in the key demo last night. Yikes.
You'd expect better when there was a star-making performance on the show. You'd expect.
Yeah, they wanted to see the skateboarding Cora Jade on the follow-up to her.
Braun Breaker. Breaker. Another one.
Joe, you want some demographics here? Because I think this is fun.
Go for it.
So NXT, they got Vic Joseph wearing the new drip. They got your boy Wade Barrett wearing a Toxic Attraction shirt. There's primary colors. There's paint splashes. There's Wale. It's for the kids, Joe, right? It's a show designed to attract the attention of your 4-year-old, I guess, or something. I don't know what the hell they're going for. Ratings were down.
It's not for the old white guys like us.
No, you and I, we don't get it. You know, we're in the mud, as the kids would say. Whereas this show, no, this show is for the kids. Ratings were down in every single demographic for NXT. The biggest drops were with younger viewers, with males 12 to 34 dropping 54.6% from last week.
Oh my God.
54.6% of the males 12 to 34 that watched that show last week in the follow-up to WarGames said, fuck that, and watched something else.
You know what? Maybe I just thought of this. Maybe it's wrong to blame the WarGames show and the personalities from the WarGames show not connecting with people, because I'm not sure anybody watched the WarGames show, to be honest. Nobody watches the TV. We all know that only a certain percent, like if you can grab 10% of your viewing audience for a pay-per-view show or something, that's considered good. If no one's watching the TV, it stands to reason that very few people watch the actual WarGames show.
Right, of course.
And we talked about how horrible the television show was last week, the go-home show for the WarGames. That could be what's responsible for no one watching this week. Because maybe the people that watched that show last week were like, why the fuck would I ever watch this show again? This is terrible. Right? Because far more people watched the TV show last week than watched the WarGames, you have to think. WarGames is only going to get a fraction of that viewership.
Yeah.
You got to be a Peacock subscriber. Do you know they were selling that on pay-per-view too? The WarGames?
Oh my God.
I would
Holy
love
crap.
to see the
For
numbers.
what, $49.95 or something like that? Or what are we talking about?
Yeah, like it was being sold on some cable systems as a pay-per-view.
I love to. If you did that, we have to interview somebody who got to their TV, picked up the remote, slapped their hands together, got the bowl of popcorn, and said, "Order, let's go, WarGames."
I'd love to see the numbers. I'd love to see the numbers. I want to know who.
Yeah, I want to talk to you if you're one of those people. So.
I want to know how many ordered that on traditional pay-per-view. But you have to have the Peacock, or you'd had to order on pay-per-view. I mean, if they're doing 600,000 viewers last week or whatever it was,
just a hair under 600,000.
Well, that was this week, but the week before they did, like they always do around 600,000, right? So it's like, 10% of that would be like 60,000 people. I mean, I think probably under 50,000 people watched WarGames.
I think that's probably conservative. Yeah, that's probably a good number. I would say, I think you're probably on the right ball there.
And so I don't even know if saying, oh, well, WarGames couldn't drum up any. Well, the problem is they can't get people to watch the show, and then they which means you can't get people to watch the pay-per-view. The show was so bad last week that I think that's probably more of a reason why this week tanked so badly. And it's just so funny. Like, I know we've turned it into a bit, but it's just so funny how this show is directly geared toward the people who fucking hate it and don't want anything to do with it.
Joe, it gets even better. Females in the demographic that we talked about, the 12 to 34, the key demo for NXT here, because we're Primary Colors and Wale and Vic Joseph and Leather. Females in that 12 to 34 dropped 55.6% more. 55.6%. They were down overall 54.6% in the 18 to 34 age group as well. Yeah. Joe, the demographic that held up the best? People over 50. They dropped only 2.8%. So you have males 12 to 34 dropping 54.6, women in that same group 12 to 34 dropping 55.6, and people over 50 only 2.8. The old love NXT, man. They fucking love this show.
Yeah, the people who get accused of not liking it, the middle-aged white guys
love it.
They're the only people who watch this show. That's what the data tells us. The only people who watch this show are the people who everyone says are the ones that don't like it. No one else watches.
And the reason we don't like it is because it's not targeted towards us, Joe.
It ain't us. The median viewer for this thing is 62.
I know. I'm half their age, so
it's not us.
It's people that were alive during the Kennedy assassination.
It's not even middle-aged men. It's elderly men.
Yeah, it's elderly people.
Half the people watching are elderly, Rich. And we're not making that up.
No.
Half the people watching this show are elderly. What the fuck? They have.
All right, so Joe, you said what was the median age was 62, right?
Okay, last week it was 62.
Let's go on the assumption that we'll stick with last week's. We don't know what this week's was.
No, this week's I believe was in the 60s as well, but I'll find it and make your point while I'm looking for it.
Okay. Well, I wanted to look at, Joe, what was going on in the world in December of 1959 when these people were born. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready.
Let's do. You want to do top songs, top movies? What do you want to do?
Top songs. Let's see if we know the top songs.
Okay.
It wasn't Wale. I could probably.
Wale was not among the. Yeah. All right. Let's see. December 1959 top songs. It's very hard to. All right. Well, you know what? We're just gonna do the Billboard. Oh, here we go. We got the Billboard Hot 100 for 1959. Joe, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
December 7th. Bobby Darin's hit "Mac the Knife" was all the rage at the sock hops, at the drive-ins.
Bobby Darin.
That's what these people were. But he was dethroned the next week, Joe, because Guy Mitchell's "Heartaches by the Number" replaced him.
I don't even know that one.
I don't even think I know that one either. Yeah, "Heartaches by the Number."
I think Guy Mitchell was Bobby Heenan's first wrestling name
Guy
too.
Mitchell, yeah.
And a bit of trivia.
You do know Bobby Darin, though, of course. Yeah, so we got him.
Well, how about when these people were 20? It was still in the 70s.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so let's do that. So top songs. These people are 20 years old in December of 1979. Okay.
Okay, so what we're doing here. Okay, the median viewer, by the way, was 62 years old again this
Okay,
week.
perfect.
I just
Good.
looked that up. So what we're doing here is when the median viewer of NXT 2.0 this week was the age that NXT 2.0 is trying to attract. Okay, was 1979 is when these people were the age of the viewer that this show is attempting to attract. So when these people were 20, here's what was going on in pop culture.
Yeah, here's the top songs, the Hot 100 of the Billboard. All right.
Yeah.
Number 1 was "Babe" by Styx.
Wow, little Styx.
Yeah,
right?
little Styx, number 1. They this is their 11th week on the chart. They were number 1 last week as well. So congratulations to Styx.
Rich, I don't think there's going to be any Billie Eilish on this list.
I don't. Doing a quick glance, no.
No Billie Eilish?
No Billie Eilish. What you do have, though, is the Commodores at number 3 with "Still." That's a great song, by the way. Love the Commodores.
Rich, you're an old soul.
I am an old soul. Number 3. "Please Don't Go" by KC and the Sunshine Band. Another great hit from the Sunshine Band and KC himself. So
where's the Olivia Rodrigo? Is there any Olivia Rodrigo on
no.
this list?
I do have "Escape," parentheses, the Pina Colada song.
Wow.
By Rupert Holmes at number 4.
Wow.
There you go.
If you like pina colada. Yeah.
That was number 4. That's what these people were listening.
These were the hot
In their
songs
Firebirds or whatever the fuck you drove in 1979.
for the median viewer of NXT last night. These were the hot songs when they were 20 years old.
Oh my god.
1979. These people were 20 years old 42 years ago. That's who's watching the show. And half the people watching are older than that. Half the people watching are older than that, Rich. This is a company that desperately
Ladies
tries
Night.
to...
Ladies Night by Kool and the Gang, number 11, by the way. So
Nothing wrong with that. I think I probably like this top.
Yeah, this sounds solid. Yeah, this sounds like a great... I like this top 100 much, much more than the current top 100, but that's neither here nor there.
This is a company that so desperately tries to attract younger people and fails so miserably that all they attract are elderly people. It's incredible. And the show specifically designed to attract younger people. Everything about it is geared to... The problem is they have this idea in their head of what younger people want and what younger people like. And they just can't execute it. Rich, on last night's NXT, they had the man who lost the hair versus hair match come out in a blonde wig. You were supposed to think this was hilarious.
Yeah.
What 20-year-old, what hip-happening 20-year-old is going to think that the poker man wearing a blonde wig and pretending that that's his hair and that he was not humiliated and had his hair cut? What hip-happening 20-year-old you know is going to sit down on a Tuesday night and enjoy that kind of entertainment? You can have all the, splashy colors and Wale theme songs you want. The content of the show is shit. It's Rainbow Raw. It's terrible. And it's only getting worse every week. Rich, they did a finish last night where somebody stole the tag rope, so that tag team couldn't make a tag.
This is not made up, by the way. It sounds made up. I promise you Joe's not lying. It's true.
Because the referee wouldn't accept the tag because the man on the outside wasn't holding the tag rope, but the tag rope had been stolen by another team that wasn't part of the match. And that team was taunting the man on the outside of the ring with the stolen tag rope. And the referee, this stupid referee, would not accept the tag because the man wasn't holding a tag rope that wasn't there anymore. That's what was on this show last night. And a man who had his head shaved wearing a wig and pretending that it was his hair. I mean, that's the problem with WWE right now. That the shows fucking stink. And that's why nobody under 62 wants to watch this shit. Because the shows are terrible. It was awful last week and it was awful this week.
It's so bad. It's I will say it's beginning to border on fun bad now. At least for me.
It's just like Raw. It's a facsimile of Raw. Last night's show was exactly like any Raw.
Yes.
With the non, you got this. They have a character now who randomly pops up in backstage segments. I guess she's like an infant. She's gripping a blanket and a pillow. Her gimmick is she sleeps. Her gimmick is she sleeps. And she pops up in the backstage segments like with her thumb in her mouth. Like I guess she's supposed to be a baby or something. You know I'm not making any of this up because who would make this up?
Yeah, I know. And of course, I love that, chef's kiss to whoever sat down at the table and said, all right, here we go. So we have this Asian man. He's Chinese. Okay. He should wear face paint and have magical powers. It's like, what are you idiot? What are you doing?
Rich, that's not even
the worst Asian stereotype on the show.
There's an Asian man on the show who's of Japanese descent, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And his new gimmick is he does mukbangs, which is Korean. It's not even Japanese. But I guarantee you they don't know the difference.
They don't know the difference at all.
Okay? So he does mukbang, and his gimmick now is that he takes large shits. That's Jiro's gimmick now. He eats a lot and then shits. Again, I couldn't make this up if I tried. And then they wonder why nobody wants to watch. And is there any doubt that they have no idea that mukbang is Korean and not Japanese?
Absolutely zero idea.
They have no clue. They don't have the first clue. It's, Bruce Pritchard or whoever saw one of these videos on YouTube. And now he's giving it, we got an Asian guy.
Yeah.
We're not doing nothing with him. He's going to eat a lot and take a shit.
Yep. With hilarious poop noises as well, which, cracks up the one most important person in that company, for sure.
Complete with fart noises.
Yeah.
Fart noises. Jiro's making faces. He's like,
God.
It's irredeemably bad.
It's so bad.
It's unwatchable, which is why nobody watched this week after last week.
And only the olds. The olds cannot wait for Tiffany Stratton or whatever. What's her name? Tiffany Stratton. It's if you've never seen her, what this is it's B-roll and it's like 2 minutes of this woman's breasts and her ass, and she goes, "Daddy gives me whatever I want," and then she says "Daddy" a lot, and then like Ferraris drive by, and you're like, "All right, cool."
Well.
Daddy said I can have whatever I want, and what I want to do is come to NXT. Ding, 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 Tiffany Stratton coming to NXT.
What, though? You know what? She's going to get over.
Yes.
Do you know why? Because who doesn't hate a rich blonde bitch? It's like it's the reason that like Tammy Fitch got over everywhere and Smoky Mountain and everything before she came and became Sunny. Like, that's a gimmick that doesn't fail. That's the one that'll get over, and that's the one that nobody seems to like.
For sure.
Like,
no doubt. Yeah, no
over.
doubt in my mind that, like, especially with that demographic and the people that watch that show, they're gonna fucking love that.
It's gonna get over because that's a great heel gimmick. She'll be called up before.
Oh, for sure. Oh my God, she'll be called up by. I would say not by WrestleMania, but very shortly after WrestleMania, she'll be on the main roster for sure.
Yeah.
And she's got if you've ever seen her, she's got a great look.
I don't know anything else about her. Right?
Yeah, no, she used to be a bodybuilder. I forget, she was some sort of college athlete or something. Like, she's got a really good look. Like, there's no doubt. Once they got the tennis racket away from her, there's no doubt that she'll be pretty solid.
So how bad was she at tennis?
She is not very good at tennis, unfortunately. Daddy didn't pay for tennis lessons. Let me tell you that. I can assure you that Daddy did not pay for private tennis lessons. But she's much better shopping on Rodeo Drive than she is playing tennis. So.
Yeah, no. Farting mukbang guy isn't going to get over.
What about guy who hangs out in diners? What was that guy's deal? It was the one dude who was like drinking diner coffee and being like, "Oh, I'm coming," and I'm like, "All right, cool, dude." Like,
well, I don't know enough about him yet. He was like,
he was just in a diner, just like sipping coffee, being like,
"Yeah, I need more information."
I don't know anything about him, but yeah.
But mukbang guy who takes a shit is not getting over. That's definitely not getting over. Recurring unfunny SNL sketch Tony D'Angelo is not getting over. That's
Tony Tits.
Yeah. Joey Tits is not getting over. He's not going to get over. I mean, and he did nothing in the match. It's so obvious.
He's so bad. He didn't do anything. They clearly just said, "All right, tag in," and then just like, "You're in," and just go in the corner and don't do anything.
They're like, just stay out of the way.
Right. Let Grayson Waller literally do everything. Just stay out of the fucking way, dude.
Stay off the camera. Yeah. So, Fugazi SNL sketch guy, that's not going to get over. Okay? Let's be honest here. There's a lot of acts on this. Now, and that's fine. Look, the infant that is sleeping in all of the backstage sketches, that's not going to get over. Okay? She used to be the 1,000-year-old woman, by the way. That's who that is. The 1,000-year-old.
Oh, is that who that is? Okay. All right.
Repackaged as a person that cuddles a blanket and sleeps a lot, wearing jammies. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see. I can't picture that one in my WrestleMania main event, but who knows? Crazier things have happened.
Jammies, yeah. Everybody throws pillows into the ring, like, a la, Noki and Vader,
Yeah. It's such a horrible show.
Part of me appreciates what they're at least trying to do here, because I think it's to me it's an interesting direction to go. Like, it's not good at all. It's a terrible show, but like, especially with this WarGames, like, it felt to me like early takeovers just without like the good wrestlers. There was a modicum of the good wrestlers there. There was a few sprinkles of the old good wrestlers or whatnot, but it's a rough watch. It is a very they're clearly rebuilding. They clearly have a completely different idea of what they want NXT to be, and that's I don't hate it. Like, I think it's probably a direction that they probably needed to go at some point with this television show. The problem, though, is that USA is paying you money for this show.
Yeah.
And putting it in prime time. And Brandon Thurston also tweeted this out. Some examples of what rerun programming does on USA in prime time found on RyansRatings.com. Most of these are on less favorable nights than Tuesday, and none lower than the average that NXT is. So NXT since October has averaged 0.14 in the 18 to 49 demo. Okay.
Yeah.
So here are shows that did better than NXT has done since October. Okay.
I'm listening.
September 3rd, the 8 a.m. or 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and 10 p.m. reruns. On Friday, September 3rd, the reruns of Law & Order SVU, 0.18, 0.17, 0.16 in the demo.
Could probably be acquired cheaper than paying for NXT.
I would say reruns of Law & Order SVU probably cheaper for USA to have. 5 different movies from Friday at 8:15 p.m., Saturday at 7:30 p.m., Saturday at 8:45 p.m., Saturday at 8:15 p.m., Saturday at 7:45 p.m. The demo numbers for those are 0.17, 0.18, 0.15, 0.18.
You acquire these movies for X amount of years for pennies on the dollar, and you can run them as many times as you want.
Yep.
This is why you'll often see the same lead in for Dynamite, and people, turn it into a meme. So very cheap programming, very cheap. Doesn't cost you $45 million a year like NXT 2.0.
I won't belabor the point, but these ones are pretty interesting. On Sundays, reruns of Law & Order SVU. This is from July 15th, 10 p.m. on a Sunday, 0.17. 9 p.m. on a Sunday, 0.16. 10 p.m. on a Sunday, this is in August, 0.17. 9 p.m. on a Sunday, 0.16. Continues with a lot of other 0.18s on Sundays, 10 p.m. 0.18 Sunday at 10 p.m.
But here would be the counter. The counter would be, okay, but what NXT 2.0 and what WWE is going to bring to the table are younger viewers.
Yeah, right.
But it doesn't.
But they're not.
62 years old.
Right.
So,
You could just 62-year-olds are probably watching SVU too. They're watching Ice-T, hassle a potential criminal here and asking him, "Hey, I got a question for you." And he's like, "Yeah, who's asking?" You know what I mean? Like every SVU episode.
Yeah.
You could just do that. You could just play those because the 62-year-olds are going to watch the same show anyway.
yeah. So that's the thing. Like, you accept the whole deal with WWE and even sports and stuff is like, okay, you accept lower viewership in exchange for younger viewers.
Correct.
But
Younger live viewers.
And Raw and SmackDown will give you that. NXT 2.0 is not giving you that. They're giving you the same viewership you're getting with all of these far cheaper reruns of Law and Order and running the same movie, 11 times a month. And you're still getting the same median viewer age of 62 years old. And you're actually doing a better number in the 18 to 49 demo than you're doing for the show that you're paying anywhere from $25 to $50 million a year for. Those are where the estimates range. I forget where Meltzer and Thurston and all those settle on. I think about $40 million they think they're paying for it or something like that.
I remember the exact figure, but it was somewhere in that range for sure.
At least the original deal when they were, supposed to be taking down Dynamite. But it's like, at some point USA has to think, well, this is not worth the investment. We could do better running fucking that movie again and draw more younger viewers. So, yeah, the problem is it's just I like that the show tries some different things, but at the end of the day, it's Rainbow Raw now.
Right, most of those things suck, which is a problem. Like, I want to think that it's a good idea, and I want to think that this company in another era would be able to make this NXT show. Obviously they would lose some ratings for a little bit, but the long term was that we're building new characters, we're building new quote unquote stars, we're taking athletes and making them WWE superstars. We're not just going to have indie guys that have worked all over the world for 10 years in our system. No, we're going to make new guys and build them up and give them fun and exciting characters and let them develop and all that. And like, yeah, in an ideal world that would work. Like, that would be cool. But it's WWE in 2021, so yeah, you have a bunch of guys farting and you have the sleeping girl. So
it's plagued by the same issues that Raw and SmackDown are plagued by in terms of quality of the show. The show stinks. And that's the problem. And now it's not different either. It's just it's Raw with green wrestlers.
It's Raw with much, much worse wrestlers. Yeah. Tony D'Angelo, fourth match that he had ever had was in that WarGames, by the way.
Yeah, and that's not his fault.
No.
But he did nothing in the match. It was obvious. I guess we should review the show at some point.
Yeah. Let's do that.
So we'll start with the main event, which was the men's WarGames, which was okay. It was fine. The problem is I'm totally have thrown my hands at these WarGames.
I can't stand them. I'm done with Plunder. I'm done with Plundered. I'm done with WarGames. I'm done with cages. I'm done with ladders for a long time in wrestling.
They've done them 5 years in a row or something, right? Because they did. Didn't Gargano say that he was in the last 4 WarGames? And then that
at least the last 4, the last 6, or something like that. It's been a while. I think they've done more than you think, actually. Let me see
at any rate,
how many
for the last 5 years at least, they've been doing these WarGames matches, and I'm just sick of them. And I'm normally not as high on them as most people are.
This would have been the 5th. They did one 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. They may have slipped another one in on TV or something like that, as far as I know. But this is the 5th WarGames special. You know what I mean? The one that
Yeah. And they've been doing men's and women's on each show. So, we've had like 10 of these matches minimum over the last 5 years. And I'm with you. I'm sick of the kendo sticks. I'm sick of the plunder. You just get numb to it. It doesn't mean anything anymore. And like I said last week in the preview, I thought maybe with this NXT 2.0, they would mix it up a little more and they wouldn't be super long like they've been in but they were super long again, and they were both too long. The men's match was okay. The men's match was a more athletic and faster paced version of the women's match. And I thought the women's match stunk. I thought the women's match was one of the lousiest matches, WarGames style matches that I've seen. And I haven't even loved many of them over the last 5 years. It was on par with like the really bad MLW versions.
Yeah, worked at like quarter of the speed of another. It was pretty brutal.
I didn't like the women's match at all, but we'll get to that one. But I thought the men's match was just a more athletic version of the women's match.
I thought it was perfectly fine. I saw some people that really, really liked it. I didn't hate it, but I don't know. It was just fine. I'm probably the last person in the world to ask because, like I said, I'm done with plunder. I'm done with cages. I'm done with kendo sticks. I'm done with trash cans. I'm done with it all. Just no more for a long time on any of that stuff. But they'll never stop. And they did multiple cage matches this week on WWE programming, so they're going to continue to go that well. But
they did a cage match the next night.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Really selling the impact of this WarGames by doing it literally on the next two shows that you had. So
yeah, I forgot they did it the next two nights because then they did Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner. They did Big E versus. They did a cage match on Raw and then they did a cage match on NXT, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and they did two ladder matches the week before on NXT. It's just none of these matches mean anything anymore.
No, nobody cares.
And you do this to themselves. So yeah, I mean the men's WarGames was fine. You had time stand still when Braun Breaker couldn't cut the chain, so that was embarrassing. Can they work things like we used to do in the old days? Why do I have to watch?
Yeah, why does this man have to literally break a chain with a bolt cutter?
With bolt cutters. Remember the Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns time stand and still spot?
Yeah, yeah.
Handcuffs. Why can't we have novelty fucking sex handcuffs from a novelty shop that you could just break? Like, why do we not work things anymore? Why do we have to have a real chain with real bolt cutters so this poor guy looks like a goof because he can't cut the thing? Like, why do we not work things anymore? Why is the chain not broken already? I don't understand. So the heels are in the ring and they have they're standing there and they have no choice but to mock him because they have to stay in character. They have to take the camera off him and the guy looks like a goof because he's not strong enough to cut the chain. Because, he's a real human being, and that's hard to do.
That's very difficult to do. But yeah, in the old days, you would gimmick it, so he either rips the door off or just rips the chain apart, or does it in 10 seconds. You would have gimmicked it where maybe he just grabs the chain with his hands and rips it apart, but instead, this poor guy's got to get bolt cutters, and like a normal human being, it's kind of tough to cut a chain with bolt cutters, so it takes him a little while to do it. And yeah.
God. And then,
wrestling is so easy. I don't get it. I don't understand modern wrestling, Joe. I just don't get it anymore.
Yeah. And then Joey Tits, they totally hid him. We talked about that. That guy clearly isn't ready. Braun Breaker, I mean, I get it by looking at him. I get it. But he just and his promos, I get it. The problem is, I talked about this last week. In the course of the match, it's like it all goes away. Like he just and look, he's wrestled like 10 matches in his life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're talking about Tony. Tony who's had his fourth match. Braun Breaker's on what is 11th, 10th, somewhere around that range match.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to project. He doesn't have crowd connection. He doesn't understand the little things yet, and he's charismaless in the meat of the match, and that's his problem right now. I also think they're never going to push him because Vince doesn't like the amateur wrestling style thing. He never has. Vince doesn't really like the Steiners and never really did. So I don't anticipate him being pushed.
Yeah, that is a funny thing that people are kind of saying, oh man, this guy's going to be a future main eventer and that sort of stuff. It's like he never really liked his dad. He never really liked his uncle. He was never really quite into that style. So yeah, I maybe don't count those chickens until they hatch here, because
I'm not saying it's impossible, but he doesn't fit the archetype of
right. Like people just think I agree. Like in my wrestling world, like a guy like that, I'm thinking, fuck yeah, I got something to do. The dumb jock wrestling organization that we're doing, yes, he's probably one of the guys that we yes,
let's see,
yeah. People are kind of assuming that because he has muscles, but Vince McMahon doesn't, like you said, the amateur wrestler look, the Steiner brother lineage, that's not something he's ever really liked. So
And if they called up the Fugazi Italian tomorrow, he'd be doing comedy. He'd 100% be doing nothing but comedy, and would never get a serious push. And listen, I'm going to say it over and over. I like Trick Williams better than Carmelo Hayes in terms of projecting.
Better look, too.
Carmelo Hayes,
he's got a better look, too.
Better look. Carmelo Hayes is the better wrestler and the better performer now. There's no question about it. Like, it's not even close because he's a veteran indie guy and all that. And I'll say this about Carmelo Hayes. I never really got it with him when he was an indie wrestler. I think this is one of those examples of someone who WWE improves. We talk a lot about people who go to WWE and WWE strips away everything that was great about them and makes them less appealing. I think Carmelo Hayes is a great example of someone who WWE has helped. I think he comes across as a much bigger star, a much bigger, a much more charisma in the WWE sort of space than he did on the indies. I'll say that. But I still think that Trick Williams has the size and the look and the speaking ability. And I look at Trick Williams and think, if I could teach that guy how to wrestle and be competent, that's my star. So, and Waller, let me tell you something. When it comes to Team 2.0, he was the most impressive.
Oh, yeah. And he did the most, and it was clear that they understood that he was the guy that had to do the heavy lifting there.
Yes.
But he was good. He was legitimately good in this match, and he, of those guys, I thought projected better than every single one of those guys, and that's including Braun Breaker and including Carmelo Hayes. Yeah, Grayson Waller was the star. I would say of this match, I think he was as good as anybody on the black and gold side, too.
Well, we talked about it last week. He's a veteran wrestler.
Yeah.
You know, he's been in Australia for the last 5 years, you know, working in that scene, which is a really good scene. You know, and you know, we talked about it last week. He's the only guy on the team with any experience. And he looked really good. You know, that elbow off the top looked tremendous. And then, you know, the way he sold that elbow off the top. Yeah, he looked really good for that team. And the other team, of course, that was 4 veteran wrestlers, some of them among the best in the world. You know, so, you know, when you're talking about Pete Dunne and Johnny Gargano and people like that, you don't have to worry about them. But the match was okay. I didn't think it was a bad. I thought it was like a 3.5 star match, something like that. And that's with me being completely tired of the gimmick.
Yeah.
So I guess you want to do the women's match?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's knock out both the WarGames. This was atrocious. 31 minutes. It went probably 30 minutes longer than I would have had it go. No, like realistically, this thing should have been like 20 minutes tops. Just worked at the slowest pace you've ever seen. Like pretty much everybody. It feels like a match where everybody, other than like when Dakota Kai was in there. I think who were the first 2 that came in? It was Dakota Kai and.
Who was the first on the other team?
I forget now because it was smartly they got Dakota Kai out to be the first person there in that match. Let me see if I can fire it up real quick. People are screaming at us as we're doing this, but
I don't remember. It may have been
It was somebody smart. It was either Kaylee Ray or Io Shirai or whatever. They understood that. They were smart enough to do that.
It was because Gonzalez came in later to clean house.
Yeah.
And it was a horrible, and now I don't know if you want to pin this. This is more a WWE problem. But Gonzalez came in to clean house. She threw a lariat at somebody, and they did that thing where they take the bump before there's any contact.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking hate that. And it's the sign of a green wrestler. But the problem is in WWE, you see it on Raw.
No, it's clearly something that they teach people to do.
It must be. And then she threw a big boot at someone else, and the same thing. It didn't come within a foot. And they're taking the bump, and I'm just like, you got to have some contact. It looks so bad. So, yeah, it wasn't Gonzalez because she came in later and cleaned house. But go ahead and make your point.
But anyway, yeah, so they were smart to put like 2 of the better wrestlers right off the bat. So it started out with some decent action, some decent back and forth. And then as you started getting more and more of especially Toxic Attraction in there, when you had your JC Janes and your Mandy Roses in there, and your Cora Jades, who falls off her skateboard as she's trying to get into the ring. You have Raquel, who, like you said, misses everybody by about 15 feet. It got so brutal. And then the worst part about it is they were still doing the, like, WarGames spot. So they're, like, setting up a table, but it takes, like, 6 minutes for them to set this table up and then for someone to come off the side. And then they put a trash can on Dakota Kai, and then That takes like 5 minutes for that to happen. Then Io Shirai does a moonsault to Dakota Kai and tries to smash the trash can, but it doesn't smash. And then they're just hitting each other with kendo sticks. And then they're doing moves on kendo sticks. And Cora Jade's doing the thing with, and it's just like everything took so long to get going because it's like there was no natural movement in this match whatsoever. Nothing was done like with any sort of fluidity. And the idea that this was like a legit fight between these two warring units, I mean, it was a disgrace to the WarGames name. And I think most WarGames matches stink. And people have this like crazy idea that WarGames are great because like a couple of them were good. Most of them stink. This one might be among the worst ever. I mean, it was just nothing redeemable, slow as hell, not worked at a brutal pace, not worked with any sort of pizzazz or any sort of like hatred, just like us.
You just nailed it. You don't feel hatred between any of these teams. You don't feel any hatred. You know why? Because they build to these things over the course of like a month. Of course you're not going to feel any hatred. You know, and the teams are thrown together. But this was not good. And I'm like you, I'm not a big WarGames fan, but this was one of the worst WarGames matches I've ever seen. I mean, I have to talk about Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose.
Oh,
she is atrocious. She is so bad. She is, I mean, and she's not like the least experienced or is she? She might actually be.
God, no. I think JC Jane is Cora Jade. Like literally is like 20 years old and started training in like 2018 or whatever. So
but she's been wrestling like 3 years. How long?
Oh, you're right. No, I think well, Mandy was on she was on Tough Enough, and that was back years ago. I don't know if are we counting that really?
Mandy Rose.
Yeah, because she was signed right after Tough Enough. So I want to say that's like 2015, 2016 that she's been signed. You're right.
Mandy Rose has been wrestling since 2015, but exclusively in the WWE system.
You're right. So she's longer than Cora Jade. I think Raquel Gonzalez is pretty. Well, she's 2016. I think is when she started. So she's a little after.
JC Jane was on the Indies since 2018.
Yeah, Gigi Priscilla Kelly. She's like 2015, 2016. Yeah. So
here's my point though with Mandy Rose. It's
Mandy Sachs, little Mandy Sachs.
She's been in this system since 2016 or 2015, like we just said. She's 30 years old. She's never gonna get it. She is so bad. She can't run the ropes still. She does those little choppy steps when she runs the ropes. That you immediately lose me when you do the little choppy steps when you run the ropes. You've been doing this since like the fucking Obama administration. If you can't run the ropes,
if you don't know where the ropes are, like you're in trouble.
Okay, just hit the fucking ropes with some intensity. She doesn't have an athletic bone in her body, and that's so hard to overcome. I thought she was the worst person in the match, and she's supposed to be like the veteran of her unit. She's 30 years old. I mean, come on. I mean, Mandy Rose is bad, and she was bad in this match. I've never been impressed with Mandy Rose. I've talked about it before, but now she's in a big spot, and, this isn't a 2-minute match.
Right, the idea behind Mandy at this point is that she is like the veteran of NXT. She's coming from the main roster to kind of, get these people on track and do this, and especially with the younger group with the JC Jane and Priscilla Kelly, who are still very, very young or whatever. And yeah, the idea is that she's kind of the veteran leader that knows how to work and knows what to do and has been on the main stage and been in the big spots. And yeah, she looks dramatically worse than the other two. And JC Jane is not very good at all. And Priscilla Kelly is I think pretty solid. But really, I mean, is clearly the quote unquote super worker of this team, because there is not much else.
Yeah, I don't know. The cornball spot with popping the shoulder back in didn't work for me. The finish was flat as hell. So we had 2 WarGames matches, 40 minutes and 30 minutes. These both could have been 20 minutes. I don't know the time between, getting into the ring or whatever. But so maybe 20 isn't realistic, but both of them felt like they went way too long.
Yeah.
And this women's one was just a terrible, terrible match.
We had what was not a terrible match, probably my match of the night, and I would say most people's match of the night. Tag team titles here. Imperium, Fabian Eichner, Marcel Bartel, defeating Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner. Really good stuff between these two guys. And again, 15 minutes. This type of stuff, this is to me the essence of pro wrestling. This to me is the essence of something like an NXT, where you can take someone like a Von Wagner who's still trying to kind of figure things out and learn the craft or whatever, and you put him in the ring there with three guys that know what the fuck they're doing and understand and are great workers. And by proxy, like, Von Wagner looked pretty good in this match, had a really good match, saw how these guys work, was in there, teaming with a veteran like a Kyle O'Reilly, going up against a Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel, who are just fantastic, like arguably one of the best tag teams in the world right now. And this I thought was really, really good. I mean, is it going to make any match of the year list? No, absolutely not. But I'd say far and away the match of the night. I mean, just really good action. 15 minutes, didn't overstay its welcome. Hard hitting, impactful, big moves, but not too many. Like, just really, really good professional wrestling from in this match.
Best match of the night, best match of the weekend, one of the best tag matches of the year, in my opinion. I thought this was great. You want to talk about breakout wrestler in terms of performance on this show? It was Fabian Eichner. That's who it was.
Oh, he was
great. Fabian Eichner, and this is a guy who I've been talking up for years. And
still only 31, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're never pushing him. So that's not what I'm saying here. I have no delusions that he's ever getting pushed. Okay? That's not going to happen. But the best wrestler on this show, the person who stood out the most on this show, was Fabian Eichner, and it's not even close. This was the best performance of his life, and he's always good. Yeah, I remember seeing this guy on British indie shows, 5-6 years ago or whatever, and I can't remember what his name was, but I was like, wow, this guy, this is a real prospect. And this tag team, like you said, is one of the best tag teams in the world. There's no doubt about it. He was phenomenal in this match, and I thought, Von Wagner didn't get in the way.
No.
He's clearly not anywhere close to any of these other three, but he didn't get in the way. And then the cage match the next night with O'Reilly, which certainly felt like a write-off.
We will talk about that in a bit here.
And again, he didn't get in the way. Like, it's I don't have any high hopes for Von Wagner either. I think he's too generic. He obviously has size. But he doesn't strike me as someone who's ever going to jump off the screen in terms of charisma or anything like that. And right now, he's just a very, very basic worker. I mean, that's all he is. But he didn't hinder this match at all. He certainly wasn't the star by any means, but he stayed out of the way and he didn't hurt it at all. I thought this was fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, and what you hope happens, you hope that, like, teaming with guys like Kyle O'Reilly, facing guys like Kyle O'Reilly, you get better. Over the years, you learn some stuff, you get some stuff. This is what you do to get better. You don't get matches with other green people, and that's one of my worries with this new NXT is that they're going way far in the direction of just everybody's going to be green, and I don't know that that's the way that I would present developmental. That's why I said I loved, like, the early days of takeovers and the early days of NXT, which was, okay, we're going to hire some decent indie talent, and we're going to mix them with our people that we brought up and our performance center people and that sort of stuff, and then integrate the roster that way. I think is the healthiest way to do it, because you have your guys that can go and they work with your green people, and ideally your green people learn and get better, and we saw that in with quite a few people in early takeovers and early NXTs or whatever. And I feel like they're going a little too far in the other direction. Not yet, like this WarGames is not that yet, but I feel like we're getting very close, especially if you're talking about Kyle O'Reilly and Gargano leaving very soon as well, is that you're going to start losing a lot of those, what I consider good, independent workers, and you're pretty much just going to be left with just a ton of just super, super green people, and that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, they would cycle in your Tyson kids to go down there and work NXT, because they weren't really doing anything on the main roster anyway. But yeah, I thought, this tag was by far the best thing on this show, and really the best match I saw all weekend.
Cameron Grimes defeated Duke Hudson in their much anticipated hair versus hair match, and then Duke got the heat back by attacking Grimes, and he was going to put him in the chair, and then Cameron Grimes attacked him and put Duke Hudson in the chair and then shaved his head. So
yes, it wasn't any good. It was a TV match, and
I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay, but
it was corny.
It was corny. The heat was insane. Like, the people still love a good hair versus hair match. Like, the heat was pretty awesome for this. They knew someone was going to get their hair shaved, and they wanted to see it. So that the gimmick worked in that sense. But it wasn't any great shakes.
No, and what people forget too is on early takeovers, it wasn't 5 match of the year contenders.
No,
they would have stuff like this a lot on those early takeovers, but you only remember like Cesaro versus Sami Zayn and the stuff that wasn't even technically a takeover, I guess. But they'd have stuff like this a lot on the early takeovers, which weren't meant to be great matches, weren't great matches, and they were just little silly mid card feuds. But yes, to me, it just came across like an average TV match.
And then the other match we have not talked about yet, cruiserweight title match, Roderick Strong versus your boy Joe Gacy. And this is two, in my mind, competent pro wrestlers. Roderick Strong is obviously a very good wrestler. Joe Gacy, I've seen matches of his that I liked. I don't know what did I miss something with this match? What was going on here?
No, I didn't like it either.
It stunk. I'm like, what the hell? These guys are good wrestlers, right? Like,
it finished abruptly too. Very abrupt finish.
Very weird. Yeah, if you didn't see it, like Roderick Strong's hitting these high knees and he goes for one, he goes for two, and then he goes for a third, and then he just pins him, and it's like 1, 2, 3, and you're like, oh, okay. Like you were waiting for the Gacy kick out, you were waiting for Roderick to do something else, and he just pinned the guy and beat him.
Well, I think it may have been, the next night on the TV, Gacy cut a promo and said, it wasn't about the result. I accomplished my mission of equality and proving that a man of my size can be a cruiserweight challenger, like all this bullshit.
Yeah, but he
so
lost.
I think that was kind of the idea. Well, he was like, the result doesn't matter because he has a larger point to prove and all this other. Yeah, so it's part of the gimmick. But yeah, the match wasn't any good, and it finished abruptly, and whatever they were going for didn't really work. So, and Roderick Strong is stuck here because I think he's under contract for another year or two.
Yeah.
So he can't escape with the rest of them.
Yeah.
I think he'd be great for AEW. You get the whole band back together, so to speak. But I like the Diamond Mine stuff, but this didn't work.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Roderick is he might have to be the guy that we're talking about, one of those guys that they believe can go in there with everybody, essentially like a trainer in the ring type of thing with Roderick. And he'd be, he's a great choice if you're going to have that, somebody be like that. So I'm very curious to see what they do. If he is truly stuck there and maybe he's okay with it or he's come to terms with it or whatever, he's a great asset to have for the next year in NXT against these green workers. It all depends on what they're going to do with him, but it already looks like they're putting him in with maybe Braun Breaker or something like that pretty soon. So we'll see. But if he's stuck there and they truly don't want to get rid of him, and yeah, I think there's a great way to use someone that is talented as Roderick Strong for the next year. Would I ultimately like to see him in AEW more? Of course I would, but if he's stuck here, try to make the most of it. I think you could definitely do something with Roderick in NXT. So,
in terms of just pure work, there have been years and there have been times where I have genuinely felt that Roderick Strong was one of the 10 best wrestlers in the world.
I think you and I don't know if you and I had this discussion or I did it on one of the Patreon shows. This guy has been a great wrestler since 2005.
Yeah. And he had a couple years there where it was like, is Roddy losing it? But for 15 of those 17 years, he's been great. Great.
Yeah, I forget what it was. I was stumbling around and watching old 2005 Ring of Honor, and there's old puffy Roderick Strong. He obviously had a different workout routine at that time or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is pretty early Roderick Strong. And then he goes in there and he's fucking great. And I'm like, oh, right, he was good from the beginning and has been good for 20 years now at this point. It's ridiculous how good he's been.
And at times, great. There's been years where I've been like, he's a top 10 wrestler.
Yeah.
And
early in that career, too, he was already getting to that point by 2007, 2008, and then had more years of that over the next 10, 15 years. It's unbelievable how good this guy's been for as long as he's been.
And he'll be stuck here. And even if they push him, I hate this show so much because it's so terrible that it'll be hard to enjoy him. But I want everybody I like to leave this fucking company. I guess that's a good transition.
Yeah, let's speaking of people leaving the company, you mentioned there Kyle O'Reilly. He had a blow-off cage match with Von Wagner. They did the whole cage door deal. They beat him down, destroyed him, and that was, to me, as explicit of a write-off as you could possibly have. Kyle O'Reilly is done in NXT, probably going to AEW. I would say a mortal lock to go to AEW at this point. But this was a write-off 100% for him. We'll talk about the Gargano and how there's some shades of gray there and some potential questions. There is no question for Kyle. And then he tweeted out today, smell you later. This isn't goodbye. This dude is so showing up in AEW.
This isn't goodbye. This is goodbye for now. All those cliche things that you say. Yeah, and this was a write-off the cage match. And look, that's doing business the right way.
Absolutely.
That's what you do when you're leaving. You put over Von Wagner, who was your tag team partner.
I did see some tweets that said, "Oh, that's a bad." After all Kyle O'Reilly did, that's how you write him off. Yes, he's leaving.
Exactly
Fuck him. Destroy him. Destroy him. Destroy him. Pick a guy and have the guy that you want to be pushed. Fucking destroy him. That's wrestling, you dorks. God.
Only thing I would have done different is I would have had O'Reilly attack Wagner, and I would have positioned O'Reilly as the heel. And I would have had Wagner go over O'Reilly as a baby.
Yes. So after WarGames, because if you didn't see WarGames, like Von Wagner tried to attack O'Reilly, but O'Reilly outsmarted him and kicked him and said, "I saw that, I saw it coming. I saw your turn coming," or whatever. But yeah, I'm with you. It would have been a lot better if Kyler just beat him down and said, "Oh, you young kid, you're not on my league," or whatever. And then the next night, or 2 nights later in a cage, Wagner proves that he's not just a kid and that he's better than him or whatever. Yeah, and does the same beatdown and everything. I'm with you. Yeah.
And then if you want Wagner as a heel long term, you could just turn him the next week.
Right.
You could just do some angle the next week, and now he's a heel. That's no big deal. I just think it all would have worked better if O'Reilly was the heel in this instance. But either way, it was a clear write-off. And you can kind of see with AEW, with the Bobby Fish, Adam Cole kind of not loose connection. They acknowledge.
I was going to say, very not loose, very tight connection.
But Fish is like not part of the elite. He's just Cole's buddy. And that's what we talk about with AEW all the time, how we like the way they do that. It doesn't have to be, people could have relationships outside of their crew.
Right. Not everybody has to come out in a crew together and all wear the same t-shirts. They can just, like each other, but have different plans and different objectives.
Yeah, right. And have their own lives and careers and things. And it's not like the Bucks have not been nice to Bobby Roode. They're like, "Oh, okay, this is Adam Cole's guy and we know him." So it's not like this subtlety hammer thing. But if you notice, Adam Cole has abandoned Bobby Fish twice in the ring and left him there to die.
I was there live for one. I was there live watching him on Rampage. Yeah.
And just left him there to die. And I think that was the planting of the seeds. And now, obviously, with Kyle O'Reilly available, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but it would definitely seem reasonable that Bobby Fish kind of starts seeing through Adam Cole and has enough of this shit. And then, they bring in Kyle O'Reilly, and there you go, Red Dragon, which would be phenomenal. I mean, we know the history between Red Dragon and the Bucks, and those guys have had some of the best tag team matches of that decade. Because that feud was like 2014 to 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like one of the best tag feuds of that period. And Red Dragon's obviously awesome. The New Japan run, everything else. So that's the obvious end game here. And I think maybe as baby faces to go against the elite and against Adam Cole and against the Bucks ultimately. So that's O'Reilly. He appears, I think we all agree, to be done. I don't even think he's...
No, there's no question. Yeah, he's not even hiding it. They're not hiding it. That was a write-off. He's history. He's
so
gone.
Thank God. I love Kyle O'Reilly. I'm glad he's escaping. I'd rather see him out of there, especially off of NXT 2.0. And I'd much rather see him in AEW. So O'Reilly's out. Now let's talk about Gargano.
So Gargano, in the last segment of NXT, he comes out. He's holding back tears, and he gets out there and tells a long story and all this promo and a little bit of a career. And it's a kind of a quote unquote shoot promo in that sense, where it's Johnny talking about his real life, mentioning people backstage. Terry Taylor gets a name drop. Heartbreak gets a name drop. That's apparently what he calls Shawn Michaels for some reason. And he cuts a promo and saying, eventually he says, I don't know what my next step is going to be, and change is hard, and change is weird, but sometimes change is necessary. And the fans go, no, and he goes, I don't know what that next step's going to be, but I do know that in February. And they go, no. He says, I started a new full-time job as a father. And then they go, yeah. And then he's attacked by Grayson Waller, who comes in with a chair and destroys him. And they did a great job of shooting this as well, because it's so zoomed in on Johnny. And the fans are going, no, Johnny, look. They're all trying to point and yell at him. And he's just like, doing his promo and saying, I've always wanted to be a father. It's my goal in life to be a father. And now I have to worry about my, my new child coming to the world. And everyone's screaming, no, Johnny's coming. And then all of a sudden, bam, out of nowhere comes Grayson Waller with a chair. And then he destroys him. He puts him through a table. And that is how NXT goes off the air, with Grayson Waller putting Johnny Gargano through a table. So you're left with, at the end of NXT 2.0.
And Gargano's selling like he's just dead.
Yeah, he's dead. He's absolutely dead. Yeah. And so as NXT 2.0 goes off the air, you might be thinking, okay, there's two ways that this could have gone. This could have been a way to do a soft goodbye where he says, I don't know what my next step's going to be, but in February I'm going to be a father or whatever, and maybe I'll go do that or whatever. Yeah, you're left with that being a possibility. You're also left with the possibility that, okay, well, he's going to take some time off, and then when he's ready to come back, he'll have a feud with Grayson Waller, who destroyed him. The problem, though, is after the show, and this is kind of, if you're not, in tune on Twitter or whatnot, you might have missed this, but there's photos coming out of him in the ring crying. He's in there with Ciampa, and they're sitting in the middle of the ring cross-legged, and they're crying and hugging each other, and it's like, I think this was a write-off, right? Like, that's where I stand on it, but I absolutely see how some people could say, oh, they're just setting up for a future feud with Grayson Waller, and it's possible it could be both those things. It's possible that Johnny still doesn't know what he wants to do, and is saying, hey, you know what, do something to kind of write me off, and if I want to come back, do something that's going to get a guy over, and then I'll decide when I decide, or whatever. He could be just, telling WWE, I'm not sure yet. He could be lying about that, and he's already, ready and ready to go with an AEW deal. I don't know. I don't know anything about Johnny Gargano. This one was less cut and dry. Kyle O'Reilly was no doubter. The Gargano thing is a little more shades of gray, and you do have both ends of this. I read it more as a write-off, but I have seen people with very good arguments that this was just to kind of take him away for a little bit until he comes back and faces Grayson Waller.
I think it was designed to leave the door open. But ultimately, I think he's going to leave. But you're right. This was to leave the door, because now if he does decide to resign, you've got the built-in program. So, or if he doesn't come back, it's the perfect write-off, because the final image is seeing him dead next to that table. So
and Grayson Waller, who obviously impressed them at WarGames enough to make him the I mean, you take all that heat of Johnny Gargano's go away promo, and this good heat too. Like, there was some people being like, I can't believe that. I love it. It's wrestling 101 for me, man. It is, perfect. Of course. And if that's a write-off, it was two. They did a good job with both write-offs. Yeah.
If that turns out being a write-off, and I thought the angle was great. I thought Waller had a very good 2 days. I thought he was very good on the pay-per-view, and I thought he was very good in this angle. He comes off a little generic. I think Waller's the kind of guy where if he hits on the right gimmick at the right time, you could have something. But again, this is WWE, and when you try to analyze this too much, you remember, oh yeah, they can't make anyone a star. So why even waste your time trying to break it down? That's the problem. But yeah, I thought he came across great on both nights, and the angle was great. As far as Gargano goes, I do think ultimately he'll leave. He might disappear. They'll have the kid in February. Maybe he wants to spend some time with the kid. So you might not see Johnny Gargano until the spring. Yeah. Or he might be just raring to get at it. And, he pops up on the TBS debut of Dynamite. I mean, but it's good that we don't know. That's fun. Right.
That's why I like this closing angle a lot, because, yeah, there is justification for both ends of it. And, yeah, I could buy that he's going to AEW. I could buy that he's taking time off for his kid. I could buy that he's going to show up in February at AEW. I can buy that he's going to show up in a couple. There's a lot of different ways you can go, and I like that. Like, and to WWE's credit, like, their last image is one of their guys that they're pushing, beating the hell out of him. So if that's it, and that's it for Johnny Gargano, that's perfectly fine. If he comes back to NXT after a couple months, perfect. You got a ready feud. So I think WWE played this well. Like you said, I think both write-offs were done very, very well. With Von Wagner obviously getting the best of O'Reilly, and Gargano, the big heat for Grayson Waller, and then, yeah, leave the door open if he decides. But my guess is that Gargano's probably just going to take some time off and then show up in AEW. But, yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
And I guess we're doing this thing with Gargano that we did with Tony Nese and Bobby Fish and Jay Lethal and all these other guys.
Oh, are we pretending he's bad now?
We're pretending that Johnny Gargano is bad, and we're pretending that there's no room for Johnny Gargano, and, right? And we're pretending that AEW doesn't need Johnny Gargano. This is what we're doing. We're doing it with him now. But the difference between Johnny Gargano and Tony Nese and Bobby Fish and Jay Lethal, with no disrespect to those guys, because I think they all deserve a spot on the roster too, is not only is Johnny Gargano a excellent hand and a great wrestler just like those guys, but he's also a legitimate fucking star. Have we forgotten this? Have we forgotten that this man was filling basketball arenas?
I know. I saw a lot of people, and it was in our Discord. And again, like you said, our Discord is the most WWE friendly that there is. But I saw a lot of people being like, "Go away, Johnny! Yeah, and I hope he doesn't go to AEW." And I'm like, This dude, I mean, for all the shit that people talk about this guy and yada, 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 like this dude was one of the top guys in this company when they were regularly selling out basketball arenas for big time shows, you know, regularly doing really good numbers across the country, touring or whatnot. And he's a part of some of the greatest matches that brand has ever had. And yeah, we kind of lose sight of that because he stayed there for like 2-3 years longer than he should have. But like, let's not just pretend that overnight this guy became a terrible wrestler. He's still very good. I would not bet against this guy. I'll just tell you that. I am not betting against this guy if he does show up in AEW.
Listen,
so
it's a no-brainer if he's available. Not only is he a proven drawing card against, by the way, oftentimes a guy that you just signed. You got Adam Cole right there. They had a feud that legitimately drew a shit ton of money. Okay? Not only that, but the guy's a great wrestler. He's one of the best tag team wrestlers of this generation. I've said that consistently for years. And it's not just the team with Tommaso Ciampa. He was a great tag wrestler in Evolve at the end. Remember when Evolve became Grapple Fuck, Johnny Gargano didn't go away. They moved him down the card and he transitioned into a tag team. And he was a great tag team wrestler then. And he's a great tag wrestler. He's a proven main event draw as a singles wrestler. He's a guy that no matter where he's gone in his career has eventually made it to the top of the card. Every stop of his career. Okay? Came into Dragon Gate USA in a fray match. A pre-show fray. You don't get paid. Here's 6 or 7 guys. Impress me. That's how he entered Dragon Gate USA. And he left Evolve as the biggest star in the history of the company. He comes into NXT without a contract doing television jobs. And look at the go away they just gave him. He leaves NXT, the biggest star in the history of the company, or the brand, or whatever you want to call it. Keep betting against this guy. Okay? He's a perfect example of the rich theory of the cream where always rises. He's a great wrestler. He's by all accounts a great person. He can do it all. Heel, babyface, comedy, tag team, serious main eventer, melodrama if you're into it. He can do it all. He's proven he can do everything. And he has drawn money. It is insane that there are people who think that he would not be a benefit to AEW or not fit in to AEW.
Oh my God, I could think of 1,000 different things I could do with Johnny Gargano, especially
half of his lifelong rivals are there.
Yeah, I was gonna say half of his lifelong rivals are there, and the other half are all people that he either hasn't faced or could have just fucking great ass matches against those guys. Yeah, I think it would work out quite well, Joe. I am excited. I hope he does this. I hope he tells NXT, yeah, I'll be back, and then just signs the AEW and shows up in February. That is my goal. That is my hope. That is what I want.
You know, and he's got the stink of the melodramatic matches. How'd that work out for Adam Cole? Same matches.
The most over
right?
guy. I went to that. Went to Rampage and Dynamite a couple weeks ago. Far and away the most over guy in the entire show.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. The AEW fan base, that's Gargano's wheelhouse.
Yeah,
on top of everything
they'll love
else.
him. They'll love him.
They'll love him the moment he comes out, and he's gonna deliver. And he's by all accounts a great dude. He's got friends over there already. He trained Britt Baker. There's not a more tailor-made fit. And I have to listen to people say, I'm not sure if he's a good fit. Are you crazy?
How's he fit into NXT or AEW? How does he fit?
Like a fucking glove?
Right, like perfectly? I don't know.
Like a top star immediately? That's how he fits. What are we doing here? What are we doing? You know, it's like, what the fuck? There's this new thing with AEW fans where they don't want good wrestlers to come into the company. I don't understand.
Yeah, we are at capacity of good wrestlers. We can no longer have any more good wrestlers on our show.
It's crazy talk. And this one happens to be a money-drawing star.
Who's friends with everybody.
Who, by the way, Johnny Gargano main events.
Joe, I just don't understand how Bryan Danielson and Johnny Gargano is going to work. So tell me how that works. How those two men have a wrestling match.
I mean,
CM Punk and Johnny Gargano? I don't know.
Say what you want about some of the Tommaso Ciampa matches, and we said it. Okay?
Oh, we're front and
Say
center. Front and center on that.
But Johnny Gargano's main event matches over the last 6 years. What was he there for 6 years?
Correct, yeah.
Over the last half decade, you could argue that Johnny Gargano's main event matches got better reactions than any other wrestler in the United States. Rich, you went to some live.
Oh yeah, insane.
I would argue that there wasn't a main event wrestler in the United States over the last half decade more over in the buildings than Johnny Gargano.
No, I voted it my match of the year. I was there live for Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano from TakeOver New York, and there were grown men weeping when that dude won. Me and my friends were screaming at each other, just jumping up and down when he finally won. I mean, people that were in that building. I mean, that is. I've been to Money in the Bank. I've been to these incredible, big time things. That is right up there with the biggest reactions, the loudest reactions, the most just visceral, enjoyment of a match I've ever seen is Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole. And I've seen DIY matches live with the exact same thing. I've seen plenty of Gargano matches over the years. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ludicrous that people think.
And even if you don't like the Ciampa stuff, he's been in some of the best matches over the last half decade in the United States, both tag and single.
I actually kind of had the idea this week, and I'm doing some other series as well, but I kind of, as I was hearing people say, I don't know, Johnny Gargano, I was like, fuck it. For Patreon, I'm just going to watch good Johnny Gargano matches and just yell at you people about how great he is. Fucking Gargano and Shingo. We talk about that match for years. We've talked about how great that was. And that WrestleMania weekend. The heel turn match. It's a great match, too. It's an unbelievable, all-time great heel turn and an unbelievable match. That was a decade ago at this point, right?
I've seen him do Plunder with Chuck Taylor. I mean, there's literally nothing this guy can't do.
Another match I was at. Him versus Chuck Taylor. DGUSA. That was a great match.
He's a Swiss Army knife. He does it all. It's baffling to me. I mean, did those melodramatic matches really have that strong of an effect on people's perception of this guy? I mean, I agree he can be, but again, it's also what he was told to do.
Right. I'm at the point now, especially if you look at what Adam Cole's done, you look at what Bryan Danielson's doing. I think we need to maybe have an adjustment period for every one of these guys. If the guy has been good at a certain point and now is bad in WWE, we might want to maybe give it some time in a new company to figure out, because it's very possible, and we've seen it with Bryan Danielson, who knew, okay, here's all you guys need from me. Here's the bare minimum. I don't have to do X, Y, and Z because you guys don't care and you guys don't want me to do X, Y, and Z. But the second I'm able to do X, Y, and Z again, I'm going to fucking do it all over again. And we've seen that with Bryan. He snapped right back to 2006 Bryan Danielson. After years of feeling like, that guy's done. We're not going to get the old Bryan Danielson. Fuck off. We're right back there. CM Punk in the same way. I think CM Punk is working very much like older CM Punk and very much not like WWE. I mean, I think... I don't know. It's
how old is this guy? 35?
Johnny Gargano is. I think he's the same age as me. So I want to say he's 34. Yeah, he's born the same year as me, 1987. He's only 34.
Holy shit! And he's 34 years old.
Yeah.
You're not even talking about a guy who's 40.
No.
Who you're only going to get 3-4 years out of, and then you might want to wind him down. This guy's 34. I'd argue he hasn't hit his prime. I mean, wrestler prime is often late 30s. I mean, shit, it's such a no-brainer. If there was a draft if every American wrestler in an American promotion became a free agent tomorrow, how far do people think Johnny Gargano would fall in that kind of draft? It wouldn't be very far.
I wouldn't be far in my draft, I'll tell you that.
That's a premium pick. So, I hope he leaves. I want everyone to leave. Kevin Owens, come on down. You're next. I want everyone to leave. Everyone to leave.
Everybody that's good should leave. Yes.
I want them all to go. It's a wretched place where everything sucks. I don't want them there. Sami Zayn, I don't know if you're healthy. You might be washed. Come on down.
Let's try. Give it a try. Let's find out. Let's find out if you're washed or not.
Let's see if that shoulder stays in place. Come on down. We'll figure it out. You probably only have to wrestle once or twice a month.
Claudio Castagnoli, how you doing, pal?
That guy ain't gonna do it. He ain't gonna do it.
Nah, he's a lifer,
look,
I think.
He's happy. Look, and that's the thing. The ones that keep re-signing and say that they're happy, I don't have any beef with them.
No.
That's why I don't pick on Ricochet like everybody else does. The man's happy. Let him be happy.
I wish he wasn't happy, to be honest, but you're right.
I wish he wasn't happy. I wish Cesaro had more drive to be more, creative, just to fulfill thing. I wish he had that thing that Bryan Danielson decided, where he said, you know what, I want to wrestle. I want to have one last run where I wrestle. I wish Cesaro had that. I wish Ricochet had that, but they don't. Cesaro never makes a peep about not being pushed.
No, he doesn't care. He's good.
He likes his job. He likes the people he works with. How can I be mad at a guy like that? He's making a shit ton of money and he's happy. Selfishly, I hate it. I hate that he's a lower mid-carder who does 3-minute jobs on TV. It's such a waste of a guy who was one of the best in the world. But I can't be mad at him. The ones I get mad at are the ones that sign and then complain. I don't want to hear it from them. Because you know what you're getting into. Cesaro knows the deal. Ricochet clearly knows the deal at this point. I have no beef with them. It's disappointing, but I'm not mad at them. But I want these people to all fucking leave. I want everyone to leave. I want them to be left with Roman Reigns and The Miz and all the NXT 2.0 geeks. That's all I want left in that company. Just everyone else that's worth a shit, just fucking leave. Because it's terrible. All 3 shows are the shits. Have you tried watching SmackDown lately?
No. No, I have not. So
don't.
I'm not going to. So thank you. You watch so I don't have to. I don't know why you watch, but you do. So
I watch, and this is how I am. I'm by myself in my living room, ranting and raving like a lunatic because these shows are so bad. Complaining on our Discord that I sacrifice my time to watch this to keep up on it, and I hate it. Rich, I hate it so much. It's all so bad, irredeemably bad. Rich, they introduced Sami Zayn for the main event on SmackDown last week, and the match didn't start until like 38 minutes later. He's in the ring. They're doing backstage promos, commercials.
You had to wait 38 minutes.
And you know how it is.
Yeah.
Like his music's playing and he's just fucking standing there. Yeah.
He's got to sit there and do the wrist rolls as he's waiting.
2 commercial breaks, backstage segments with fucking, what's her name? DeVille. Hair up, square up. There's a gimmick from 6 years ago I'm still talking about.
It was a good gimmick. We loved that gimmick. I still do.
I enjoyed her. Then then Lesnar comes down and, beats him up. And then Roman's entrance takes 9 minutes. He gets in the ring with 2 minutes left in the show and just spears him and pins him. After the week before, you know how Sammy earned the title shot, Rich?
How did Sammy earn the title shot, Joe?
They did a battle royal to determine the number 1 contender, and he hid outside the
ring. He's so smart.
Have you ever seen that one?
I have, Joe. I have never once in my life seen that. How smart is Sami Zayn? How smart, how innovative. Wow.
And then when he won, they cut to a scene of Roman and the Usos and Heyman.
No way. Backstage? Was Heyman making funny faces?
They cut to them in their Holiday Inn Express lobby that they're always in. Their fucking hotel lobby that they hang out in. Complete with the USA Today on the fucking table.
Yeah, USA Today, the waffle maker in the distance. Yeah. A bowl of oranges and a waffle maker in the distance, yeah.
And Roman is pointing and laughing at the screen. Like, this guy. Right.
Why do you watch this?
Like, this is the number 1. I have no problem with this guy. Then the next week, Lesnar comes out. So Lesnar comes out. Got to give you the theme songs. Zayn comes out. And Zayn starts cutting a promo on Lesnar, telling him he's the number 1 contender. And Brock cuts him off and goes, I don't even know who you are. What's your name?
That's a shoot, by the way. That's probably a shoot. So.
Right. So this is how they built up the title match.
You cheated your way into the title match, and I don't know who you are. Yes. Can't wait.
Champ, you cheat your way using the oldest fucking trope in the book because they're just completely bereft of new ideas. Then the champion laughs at you. Then Brock Lesnar says he doesn't even know who you are, and you cower away from him. Now, if this is a write-off for Sami Zayn, it's fine. I have no problem with it. But I doubt it's a write-off. And then they wonder why SmackDown's ratings are shit lately, too, the last couple of weeks. No one likes this stuff. It's bad. And it's broken. It's all broken. So I want them all to leave.
Yes.
All of them.
Every last one of them. All right, so let's. We have a few more topics to get to as we squeeze these into the last hour of the show, but I think we're going to be able to do these. I think we're going to be able to do it for sure. But before we do that, I do want to let you know this episode of the Flagship Podcast is sponsored by our friends at MyBookie. And when it comes to gambling, you always want to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck, and that's why you should bet with MyBookie. At MyBookie, you can bet on all of your favorite sports with exclusive promotions, contests, and more to find your winning bet. Right now, when you make your first deposit with MyBookie, you'll instantly receive double your first deposit. All you have to do, it's very easy, is go to mybookie.ag, sign up, and use our promo code VOICES. And MyBookie will double your first deposit instantly up to $1,000. If you put in $50, they'll put in $50. You put in $250, they'll put in $250. If you put $1,000, they will do it up to $1,000 instantly, and you can use those extra funds to bet on the week's biggest games, huge NFL games, NBA games, college football getting hot and heavy with the college football playoff coming up, bowl games coming up right around the corner as well. So there's plenty of stuff to bet on. This promotion is only available for a limited time, so don't miss out. Head to mybookie.ag and use that promo code VOICES and secure your double deposit bonus today. Once again, that's promo code VOICES, so you can double your funds to double your winnings. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. mybookie.ag, promo code VOICES.
All right, so patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling. I got a big story back there that went up on Wednesday regarding the All Japan Pro Wrestling departures. Exclusive notes that I know you're not getting anywhere else. Who is reporting straight from sources in All Japan Pro Wrestling? No one's doing it. So if you want the story of why Nomura is leaving All Japan, of why Koji Iwamoto is leaving All Japan, what's going on with Zeus and Osaka Pro, what seems to be the issue, and why All Japan continues to lose wrestlers after Yusuke Okada left at the end of 2020. I talk about that. I've got quotes from people in the company in this story, so you're going to be caught up to date on everything that's going on with the recent All Japan departures. So the main part of the story here is both Nomura and Koji Iwamoto announced they're leaving this week. Nomura is talking about his injuries and how he wants to wrestle one more match before he leaves. And Koji Iwamoto says he wants to take a break from pro wrestling and has talked about wanting to leave for a year and also break away from All Japan. That's the surface stuff. What my story goes into is the reality of both of those guys leaving, the dirty details, straight from sources in the locker room. So that's on the $5 tier. I guarantee you're not going to get this story in the Observer. You're not going to get it on Fightful. Who else is going to report on this stuff? So we're proud of this one. So we've got really good scoops on this, complete with some quotes from people in the locker room. So check that out on the $5 tier. Rich, did you read my big story?
I did, of course. Yeah, we're gonna talk about this story a little bit in a little bit more detail, and that was before you got some of these scoops and some of these exclusive details. So you just kind of went over the basics there, but I think everybody else, since we're running a little low on time, patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling, $5 tier to learn the real nuts and bolts of why these people are leaving and some other issues. If you're wondering, man, it seems like a lot of people leaving All Japan as of late, you are correct. And Joe, you have some details on why that might be happening and what it means for the future of All Japan Pro Wrestling as well. So yeah, great stuff up there at patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling. We just finished up the last of our Hall of Fame shows. I brought on Fred Moreland. We got real nerdy with the Hall of Fame, talked some Bill James stuff, went into awards shares, some other great stuff on that. Fired up Christmas edition as well. The nurse answers your questions about Christmas. And then you're also going to get some new stuff from me as well, including the conclusion of CM Punk Best in the World, new episode of the Yes Movement, the Bryan Danielson docu-series that we're doing as well, and then the beginning of my Tokyo Dome series, my next Tokyo Dome series, diving into some random. I asked people what they wanted to do, and they wanted random Tokyo Dome matches, so you're getting random Tokyo Dome matches. And I've got my randomizer ready, and I got a few matches picked out already, so that's all coming up.
That could be ugly.
It could get a little ugly, yeah. And I'm trying to. I did a few rounds on the randomizer. Usually I do one random, The first one was like really good, like a lot of really good matches, and I was like, it needs a little bit of a mix. It needs a little.
If you get like Okada Naito, ignore it. Like,
yeah. Well, I've done those. I've reviewed every like Tokyo Dome main event, every January 4th Tokyo Dome main event. So those I'm skipping, but there was a couple where I'm like, yeah, these are just good. Like this is just like 7 good matches. I didn't want 7 good matches, so I hit another randomizer, and I think I landed on one that's a perfect blend of good matches people have never seen before, matches that people don't remember, and then also some really just atrociously weird matches. So it should be a fun little series.
Yeah.
All right.
Remember, if you subscribe for $5, you get everything we ever did for $5. And if you subscribe for $10, you get everything we ever did, period. Plus all of the live shows and the live flagships.
There you go.
So, and it's still the first week of the month. So this is the best time to subscribe because you get the full value. So voicewrestling.com/Patreon, patreon.com/Voice of Wrestling. They both work.
There you go. One of these days I'm going to get a .com for it, I think, just to redirect a flagship Patreon or something like that. So coming soon on that. Don't go there yet, but coming soon on that. Maybe I should just do it so someone doesn't buy it and squat on it. So maybe I'll just do it today. Anyway, let's get to Ring of Honor's final battle here. We are not going to do the eulogy for Ring of Honor on this episode. If we don't know what's going to happen, we don't know what's coming down the line for Ring of Honor. If and when on this show they announce it's all over, if and when in April they announce it's all over, if and when they come back and it doesn't work, or if they do, we're not doing the eulogy right now. I want that to be official before we kind of go and talk about what Ring of Honor meant to the wrestling world and the impact and all that sort of stuff. But for this purpose, I think we'll just talk about Ring of Honor Final Battle on the show. And, you know, it's called Ring of Honor Final Battle, End of an Era. I think that if I'm reading the tea leaves right, that it feels like a lot of people in and around that company feel like this is it. I don't know. They're still saying that they're coming back. I don't know, but we're not doing I don't want to do that on this episode. We'll wait for that another day, but we're not going to truly talk about the end of Ring of Honor and what it meant yet. But that unfortunately could be coming down the line as well. Are you getting the same read on Final Battle as I am, where you're really just starting to think, is this really it?
Yeah, I think if they do come back in April, like they said in their release, that you're not going to see any of these top stars come back. You might see some of the bottom and middle people, but everyone else is going to move on. So I think what you're seeing with people like the Kingdom and others, where it kind of feels like they're saying goodbye, it's because they are. So that's my feeling on it, but it wouldn't shock me at all if this is the last Ring of Honor show. No.
All right, so what's on this show is ROH World Championship match, Bandito versus Jonathan Gresham. I would assume that Jonathan Gresham is getting the win here, probably leaving, quote-unquote, leaving Ring of Honor as the champion, but I don't know. He's got his other plans, appears post-Ring of Honor. Bandito obviously has his plans post-Ring of Honor, so I don't know, and I'm not sure if it matters who wins the championship or who leaves with the title. I don't know, and that's what makes this show so hard without knowing exactly what's going to happen afterwards. It's very, very difficult to, it's going away. So, I don't know. Does it matter who wins?
I think it's whoever has said, you can book me in April.
Yeah, right.
And that's more likely to be Gresham.
I would say that, yeah. So that my pick would be Gresham, but who knows?
Well, what they should do is bring in Rhino to win all of the titles on this show.
It's really set it up right.
And just, where's Ezekiel Jackson? Is he available? He can come in and another
Pine
famous
Bluff
final champ.
Yeah, they should have had the show in what was the final ECW show? It was in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, right?
Arkansas.
Yeah, exactly. The home of ECW, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Yeah, unbelievable.
Or you can listen, I think, forget the Briscoes. Bring in DJ Peterson and the Trooper to take on the Kingdom for these tag team titles. As we run down the list of famous final champions. How many times have we brought up that Trooper DJ Peterson anecdote?
At least it's been, honestly, it's been a while. So
I love bringing that one up.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a classic one. The Trooper DJ Peterson.
Final AWA tag champs, both dead. So I don't know if you're going to be able to book them to win these titles for the final. But listen, Rhino's available if you want to go that route.
He is definitely available. Yeah. So, you got that. The OGK, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett versus the Briscoes, Jay and Mark Briscoe. I mean, if you're coming back, the Briscoes got to end this company or end whatever this run is. They have to be the champions, right?
That would be fitting.
Yeah, it's like irresponsible to not have them be the champions, leaving the company.
They got to win.
Yeah, whether the company survives, whether they come back, whatever, they have to leave here as the champions. They,
and just get them into AEW already. Did you see the promo that Jay Briscoe cut on FTR?
Yeah.
Oh my God, he is a frightening man. Like he's one of the only people in wrestling who cuts a promo, and I'm afraid he's gonna come to my house and find me.
Yeah,
like he is a terrifying man. He is so believable.
And they bring that to the ring as well. They bring that in their entrance. They bring it while they're in the ring. They bring that when they're searching for weapons. I mean, they have that in spades.
Love Jay Briscoe. He's just get them in, and I guess they're planting seeds for that. Why else would FTR and the Briscoes be talking shit to each other on Twitter? So yeah, but yeah, they should win this match for sure.
Then we have Violence Unlimited, Brody King, Homicide, and Tony Deppen versus Tracy Williams, Taylor Rust, and Eli Isom. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, this Taylor Rust can't catch a break, huh?
Yeah, he's like, all right, I'm back. And they're like, we're going away. And we might never come back. He's like, okay, thanks a lot. Like, boy. Well, okay, you know what? He made his choice. He made his money, so. All right. Then we have ROH Women's World Championship. Speaking of not catching breaks, Roxy develops and gets ready, wins a tournament, and then like literally on the next show they announce, we're going away for a little while and we don't know if we're ever coming back. So Roxy is going to defend against Willow Nightingale. I see no reason to move it to Willow Nightingale. I would say just keep it on Roxy at this point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree. Especially if you do really plan on coming back. Yeah, but a lot of this is going to depend on the people who want to come back.
Right.
That I don't know who has told them, hey, look, I'm going to work Final Battle and I'm moving on and I'm not interested in working on a per date. So it's an interesting show from that standpoint. So I don't know.
Then we have, moving on here, Josh Woods and Brian Johnson for the ROH Pure title.
Two guys I can definitely see popping up in April.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I don't see a lot.
Josh Woods worked dark.
I saw that. So yeah, you don't know. It's you don't know who now is open and who's making calls, who's really, because there's probably a lot of people that will say, hey, yeah, I'm going to wait around for you guys. There's probably a lot of people saying, hey, look, I got to fucking put food on this table. So I don't, I'm not going to wait around for you guys. And if I have better offers, I'm going to go get it. And it looks like Josh Woods, hit the ground running right away so good for him. As far as Brian Johnson, I like Brian Johnson, but I don't think too many people are going to be making calls to Brian Johnson. ROH World TV title, Dalton Castle, Rhett Titus, Silas Young, and Joe Hendry. Rhett Titus has to win this, right?
Joe Hendry's been waiting like a year to come back to Ring of Honor.
I know.
Poor guy.
It's brutal for some of these people. Oh, it's so brutal. Rhett's got to win this, man.
Yeah, he made it back. Yeah. Dalton has to win.
Yeah. No, you think Dalton? I think Rhett Titus has to win this, man.
I guess I could see an argument for Rhett Titus.
So, just like that. I'm of the mindset that this company's not coming back, so just give titles to people who...
Gold watches.
Yeah, I want gold watches for every one of these people here. So Rhett Titus needs a gold watch. Or is it better if Rhett Titus doesn't win? Is it fitting that Rhett Titus gets close and then just doesn't win? And that's how his chapter ends?
They should bring back the top of the class trophy for Rhett Titus.
He can win it again.
And Bobby Dempsey. Bring Bobby Dempsey in.
Yeah, he's around.
Hagedorn's still kicking around.
Absolutely. Yeah, if I was booking the final Ring of Honor show, I'd have some names, man. Andy Right Leg Ridge would be getting a call right now, getting on the first plane.
Yeah.
Sugarfoot Shane Page or whatever the fuck. What was his name? Sugarfoot Alex. What the fuck was?
Payne?
Yeah, Alex Payne. Sugarfoot Alex Payne. Yeah, he's getting a call for sure.
What about Mitch Franklin? Don't forget Mitch Franklin.
Yeah, Cornette's gone, so fuck it. Yeah, bring Mitch Franklin back in. Isn't that the guy you hated? Wasn't it Cornette?
No, Cornette was mad because... Okay, so Mitch Franklin was Grizzly Redwood.
Yeah, correct.
Later on. Okay. And by the time Cornette got there, he was Grizzly Redwood. And he had booked a match for TV, Mike Elgin versus Grizzly Redwood. And it was supposed to be a squash. And Grizzly Redwood, the first thing they do is like Grizzly Redwood is like doing arm drags, right? Because Elgin he sold for him a little, right? And they get to the back and he's like reading Elgin the Riot Act. And Elgin's like, well, I respect him. He's a good worker, and he's my friend. And Cornette's like, I don't give a fuck. He's fucking 5 foot.
He's
nothing.
Grizzly fucking Redwood.
Yeah, I want you to squash him. I told you to squash him. So that was where I don't think Cornette ever disliked. Oh, well, he did, because wasn't there something where later on Grizzly Redwood and Cornette had a big argument? And
yeah, that's why I thought he was he
yeah.
was told that he could never come back. It was some sort of like, get the fuck out of here and never come back type thing.
Two different stories. Yeah. You're right. There was some kind of thing, and someone stood up for Grizzly Redwood. I can't remember who it was, and then they got fired too, I think. But yeah, you're right about that. I haven't seen that guy's name in a long time. I don't even know if he's still an active wrestler. But yeah, in the top of the class student trophy days, he was just plain old Mitch Franklin, Pel Primo in those days, and Bobby Dempsey, the other Dempsey. I can't remember his name. Hagedorn, Rhett Titus, that whole crew. That was like 2006. Sugarfoot, Alex Payne. That was that whole. Those guys all came through together, and some stuck around, some didn't. Some are still kicking around. Most of them aren't. But yeah.
I want Brent Albright. I want
yeah.
Give me those early Ring of Honor guys too. Give me all of Special K.
The whole group.
I want all of them.
Yep. Yeah. You know what's funny is Jay Lethal, when he debuted in AEW, and he did the presser after the pay-per-view, and he was like, yeah, I'm all about loyalty. I was a Ring of Honor for many years, and I'm the kind of guy who stays somewhere until the doors close. And I'm with AEW now, and I plan on being here for the rest of my career, right?
Yeah.
So then the next question is, hey, you going to be working Final Battle? He's like, no, I'm not going to.
Right, I'm there till the doors close, except for the final show where the doors might close.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing that show.
Yeah. I'm not going to be working Final Battle. I gave my notice, and I'm with AEW. I'm an AEW wrestler now. 30 seconds earlier, he was saying how he's the kind of guy who
he's a pro wrestler. You can do whatever you want. You can't take the pro wrestler out of a pro wrestler. That's I love it.
And Tony, and it was all Lethal, because then Tony is like, oh, we haven't even talked about Final Battle. If he wanted to work Final Battle, I'm sure we could. He's like, I'm sure we could work something out.
In perfect Tony fashion. Yeah, just mile a minute talking about, trying to.
Like, that hasn't even come up. We haven't even. Oh, I hadn't even thought about Final Battle. And Leethal's like, no, I won't be working Final Battle. I'm an AEW man now, through and through.
I love it.
It's a total fucking carny bullshit every time with these. It's just awesome. This is why wrestling's great.
Yeah, because they're all just fucking carnies. They're professional liars, and it's great.
Yeah. Why do people want to clean it up?
Yeah, because I agree.
Seriously.
Yeah, sleaze it up a little bit more. Yeah. Rashay Brown is the guy that Sean Sedor is thinking was stood up, and I think that's right, because that would fit that timeline, because he was on a trajectory to really do some stuff, especially locally in my area in the Midwest. Rashay Brown was doing awesome stuff out here, and then one day just disappeared off the face of the earth in Ring of Honor, at least. So.
It could be, yeah. If anyone would know, it'd be Sean.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so then we have Fight Without Honor, Shane Taylor versus Kenny King. Joe, this might be the last time for King. King.
Could be it.
King. What are you thinking about? You got to have mixed emotions from this. It's been a long joke for you for, as long as this show's been alive, making fun of Kenny King, so.
Man, got paid off in MSG though when he won that Battle Royal. Right?
Absolutely, it did.
Using the trope that we saw on SmackDown this week.
Yeah. So. Are you sure? Because I thought that was the first time it's ever been done when Sami Zayn did it, but you're telling me it's been done before.
Very true. Yeah, well, history repeats in the pro wrestling business. It was only done by every heel manager ever in WWF for 20 years.
By Jerry Lawler in multiple Royal Rumbles.
Jerry Lawler, yeah. I don't know.
Santino in a Royal Rumble, Hornswoggle in a Royal Rumble, but yeah, other than that, it's
Yeah. I don't know. How can you predict any of these matches? I don't fucking know.
Who knows? Dragon Lee and Rey Horus. I don't know. Neither. Double count out, maybe.
Well, you got one of the most exciting luchadors in the world and the least exciting luchador in the world, all in one match.
Rey Horus.
Rey Horus is the replacement level luchador.
He is absolutely, yeah.
He's just such a bore. He's just a fucking dud. Ray Horus.
This is on the pre-show, so they're doing a YouTube Honor Club Facebook thing before. So the ROH 6-man tag team titles will be defended, unfortunately, on the pre-show. Shane Taylor Productions, Moses Khan, and O'Shea Anderson versus Vincent, Bateman, and Dutch the Righteous.
O'Shea Edwards.
Yeah, what did I say?
O'Shea Anderson.
Oh, I don't know why I said Anderson. O'Shea
Maybe
Edwards.
O.J. Anderson? You reckon?
I guess I was thinking of O.J. Anderson. Was I thinking of O.J. Anderson? I don't
the
think
old Cardinal and giant running back.
I don't think I ever thought of O.J. Anderson, but maybe.
No? All right. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. What do you want me to say?
Yeah,
You know?
there you go.
Dutch is another one. Finally gets a big opportunity. All those years after being cut by WWE and debuts in that fucking match in the firehouse. Remember that? Where he threw the guy off the fucking...
Yeah.
I like Balloon Guy. Hopefully he gets
you need some Balloon Guy in your life. And unfortunately, it looks like you might get less Balloon Guy in your life. And then this match is also happening on the pre-show. Next 3 matches are all happening on the pre-show here. Chelsea Green and the Hex, Allison Kay and Marty Bell versus Allure, Angelina Love, Manny Leone, and Miranda Alizé. So,
all right. Should be a happening.
Should be happening. It's a happening. It's the Gorilla Monsoon after a Billy Jack Hayes undercard WrestleMania match. WrestleMania, it's a happening. And then we have a wild card 10-man tag. Now, this is the one spot. We don't know who's in this wild card. This is the spot. Hopefully we do this. This is where we can do the Bobby Dempseys, the Shane Hagadorns, the Special Ks, the Backseat Boys. Like, let's go. Let's call some names, man. Let's call some guys and call some names.
You never know who's gonna pop up.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not Boars. I hope it is a few old dudes and a mixture of classic Ring of Honor talent. But we'll see when it. How
about the Havana Pitbull, Ricky Reyes?
That would be great. Yeah.
How about Matt Stryker with the one eyebrow?
Yeah. I'm down.
How about Xavier, who was supposed to come back before the pandemic?
That's right, Xavier. Yeah, I want Xavier. He should run out and win the title. Should beat up Jonathan Gresham and Bandito to win the title.
He was booked by Skrull before the pandemic.
That's
Remember
right. Yeah.
Wacky shows Skrull was booking, and then they all went out the window, and then Skrull got canceled to bring the show full circle. Who else can we dig out from ROH's past? A lot of names, Rich. A lot of eras.
Yeah, let us know in the comments here, the YouTube comments, or in our Discord. Yeah, who should they bring out?
Rich just pulled a let us know in the comments.
How hey, there's names that I forget, and then people bring it up. Like, let's remember some guys. Let's remember some Ring of Honor guys. We don't have enough time to do that. That will be in our eulogy episode. We can do our let's remember some guys. But I'm being told Xavier would be a tough get these days. Joe,
did he die?
I guess he died. Yes.
Really?
I guess.
Wasn't he booked last year?
August 16th, 2020, Xavier died. So
no shit. Did we talk about that? How we missed that?
We must have, but August 2020 seems like a long time ago. So, well, sorry, but yeah, he's
right.
That'd be a hell of a booking to get Xavier for this show.
Not getting Xavier.
I don't think so. I mean, you can never say never, but yeah, it doesn't sound like a very good chance that he's going to show up there.
Man.
Yeah. I honestly, legitimately, Joe, I'm not kidding. I did not know that he had died. I completely forgot about that.
I have no recollection of that either.
So, sorry. It was not an intentional thing from there, but there you go. Low-key. What about Low-key, Joe? Let's have Low-key
what
show.
About him?
Yeah.
What about him?
Who cares if he burnt a bridge, That was water under the bridge, I say. It's the last show.
Is Teddy Hart in jail?
Hopefully, but I don't know. So,
hopefully, all the classics. Bring them all in.
Yeah, set up a cage, let him do a fucking
absolutely
tope off of it or some fucking this corkscrew moonsault thing. That'd be great. Yeah. Oh God! All right, let's. That is ROH Final Battle. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. We're not doing the eulogy yet. We'll see. We'll see if anything gets announced on the show. But that is ROH Final Battle. Let's do some NWA Hard Times 2, Joe. Because if we don't cover NWA, nobody will. And this was NWA Hard Times 2. It was an 11-match show, maybe 10 matches. I think eventually made tape. Tim Storm at one point said, guys, how can we even call one match a main event? This is a show with 10 main events. And I like my man Tim on commentary. This was not a show with 10 main events, Joe. It was a show that I would argue had 0 main events, but it was an NWA show. I mean, for better or for worse, it was NWA.
I liked it.
I mean, I thought it was pretty good too. Every match was like 8 minutes, in and out. Everyone's got weird characters, good promos.
Let me rephrase. Can I rephrase that?
Yeah, sure.
It exceeded my low expectations.
Yeah, I think
How's
that's fair.
that?
Yeah, I came in ready to bury this. I can't bury this show. I could just tell you that it was like, it didn't have 10 main events, as Tim Storm said, but like, I don't know. I didn't feel like I wasted my 2.5, 3 hours watching it.
I thought like the first half of the show was actually pretty good. The first 4 matches I thought were pretty good.
Yes, I agree.
Then we had Tyrus and Scion, and I thought
But 15 minutes.
Way too long. But I thought, okay, if this is the most faint praise ever, I thought it was the least offensive Tyrus match he's had on this run. It was a slow
I would
match.
say that's probably fair.
He wasn't good. Please
He wasn't
don't get me wrong.
egregiously terrible and lazy like he usually is.
Correct. Then I thought La Rebellion versus The End was pretty damn good. Although I will say that Paro didn't look great in this match, and I normally like him as a big man. He was not moving around well.
No, yeah, he's unfortunately taking the big part of big man a little bit too literal, I'd say, and like I don't know,
cut a little weight. I wanted you to say it before I said.
Well, it's true because like this is a guy who I think when he's big is awesome. Like he there's a certain big part of him that's awesome, but he's just I don't know. It's not.
He wasn't moving around great.
No, it feels like it's really weighing him down a little bit, and I don't mean that in like an offensive way. I just mean like he's a lot better when he's got a little slimmer and can move a little bit better.
He's a big guy, and we want him to be big.
Right.
The problem is, I think he's put on a couple pounds, and I think it's affecting his movement.
Exactly. Right. I think he's capable of a lot more.
Odinson looked great, I thought, and I thought Bestia and Mecha Wolf really looked great. I'll circle back to the top, and we won't do intensive reviews of all these matches, but I thought Austin Aries versus Rhett Titus was exactly what I thought it was going to be.
It was awesome. I love that match.
A professional
just
performance
2
for
professional
both
wrestlers having a professional wrestling match is the best
Yeah.
way to describe that match. It was perfectly professional wrestling.
Aries has not lost a step. He looked great. Titus, he gave you a Titus performance. And we were off to a good start. And Aries moves on in this little tournament. I haven't read the spoilers for the tapings. Something that does annoy me is I think they taped some stuff before the pay-per-view. I hate that.
Oh.
I think they taped some stuff for TV.
The OCD in me just I can't
bothers
do that,
me.
yeah.
It really bothers me. I'm going to double check that. But Colby Carino, Doug Williams, I thought was a good little match. I thought Carino looked really good.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, his look is good. He's put on some mass. He's actually like not a 17-year-old kid anymore. Like the stock on Colby Carino is high. I think this guy's going to be great.
I've always said he needs to gain some weight. His look was really a barrier. But look, we all know the story. He had some problems with drugs. It really derailed his career. He was supposed to be with New Japan. Do you remember that? He was supposed to go to Dojo.
Yeah. He was right on. I think it was like a couple days later he was going to be going, right?
And, he's going to have advantages others don't because he's Steve Carino's kid. We know that. But if he keeps his nose clean and he does the right things and he keeps wrestling like this, I think it's going to work out for him. This was a really solid match against Doug Williams. And Doug Williams was obviously in for the tapings as well. And yeah, it was pretty good. And then Mickie James and Kiera Hogan. I had very low expectations for this because I haven't enjoyed Mickie James' work all that much lately on Impact, and Kiera Hogan's someone who I think is a little overrated.
Yeah, she's still the problem that she has, and I saw it in this match too, is she's still kind of thinking through and doesn't have it. Yeah. You can tell when someone doesn't like have impactful moves. Like you talk about Sky Blue in a sense of somebody that always is like just paper soft, and it's like everything is done. Like if she does a suicide dive, it's like she lands on her feet and then hits the person. It's like you can just hit him. It's Mickie James. Like she'd be okay if you just kind of laid it in a little bit on her. I'm not saying you got to shoot on somebody, but like, and that's the thing that a lot of green wrestlers don't get, and it's a hard thing to get. It's one of the things that I've heard from wrestlers is the hardest thing to know is like how to just say, all right, look, I'm going to get real close and I'm going to maybe lay it in a little bit, but like wrestlers want that. Like, hey, you know what? If you got to hit me a little bit, hit me a little bit. Like you don't need to be super soft and super light or whatever, because it looks unrealistic. And that's where Kiera Hogan just is at this point a little bit.
You know what I heard CM Punk say recently? He said, I think it was Punk. He said, wrestling is weird in that when you're working with your friends, you hit each other harder. And that speaks to what you're talking about. Because you're more comfortable when you're in there with somebody that you're friends with in laying it in, because you know they're not going to get offended or they're not going to think that you're stiffing them because you're buddies. Whereas when you work with someone you don't know, you're a little more careful in that regard, and then the match isn't as snug, So it's interesting that you say that, because Punk said something like that not too long ago. It had to be after the pay-per-view. Where else would I would have heard him talk, unless it was on a podcast or something? But that's something in the similar vein as what you're saying. But I didn't expect much out of this match. I thought it was going to be bad, and I actually thought it was okay. So we were really off to a good start, because then we had the Kingdom against Aaron Stevens and JR Kratos. And I thought the Kingdom was really solid here. And I thought that they pushed Stevens and Kratos to a really good match.
Yeah, this is probably, I want to say, I think I like Colby and Doug Williams a little bit more, and I think I like Austin Aries and Rhett Titus just a little bit more, but this is right there with one of my favorite matches of the entire night. I'd probably have those three in a tie. I thought this was really good. When you see some of the names, you're thinking, I don't know, is that going to really work? But yeah, I think OGK, like, this is the perfect role for these guys. Like, we talked about it a little bit last week, like putting these guys in a mid-card tag team title thing, or they're a tag team champions for, some company, or they're in like whatever. Like, I think they're really, that's what Matt Taven should not be your world champion. Matt Taven should not be your main eventer, but Matt Taven as a tag team champion is fine. Matt Taven as a part of a regular tag team with Mike Bennett is fine. And I thought, yeah, these guys were really good here. And I thought Kratos and Stevens went neck and neck with them. I mean, sometimes Aaron Stevens can be one of those guys that you think like, oh my God, what's this guy doing? He's just in another world. I thought he was solid enough here too. So yeah, I think this was really good 10-minute back and forth tag team match.
So I get through these 4 matches, and I went on our Discord into the NWA channel, and I said, I'm 4 matches in, and this is better than WarGames and TripleMania. And I know that the ugly stuff might be in front of me, but this show's not that bad. And then we had Tyrus and Scion, which we talked about already. Look, I think it could have been way worse. And I thought the finish was good.
Yeah, I think they played up the heat well enough. They had, Austin Idol come in, and they originally, the seconds got kicked out initially, and then, they kept Austin Idol, but then he got kicked out initially, and there was the interchange with the Pope and stuff. I mean, it was perfectly fine, like kind of territory pro wrestling stuff, I thought.
The finish actually stunk. I was thinking about a different match. But up until the finish, I liked when Scion put Tyrus through the table for the near fall. I thought that was a good spot, and Tyrus actually was willing to do something for once. But yeah, like you said, the stuff with the Pope as the referee, just old school territory stuff. I do think it went too long, though. I do think the match...
Oh, yeah. No universe this needs to go 15 minutes.
And then the tag title match we already talked about with La Rebellion versus The End. I thought that was a really good match. Chris Adonis versus Judeus. This did not work for me. Thought it was boring.
Oh, Judeus stinks. Like, what are they doing?
It's what I told you. Like, maybe you see what I mean when I say Judeus just has no presence.
No, there's nothing.
He's a non-entity. The guy has no presence whatsoever. Like, he's this big guy who is just a guy. If this were 1987, even with his size, he'd be doing jobs on Wrestling Challenge. Because he's a non-entity. And it's a total waste of Sinister Minister James Mitchell, who could be doing something far more interesting with somebody else. So I didn't like it at all. Camille did what she could with Melina.
Melina is brutal, man.
She's not good.
They introduce her as the living legend, which is like pump the brakes on that. Oh my crap.
She did some splits on SmackDown 15 years ago.
Yeah, let's reel in living legend, and she is brutal. I mean, she is one of the worst wrestlers I have seen this year. I mean, Not trying to be mean, but she is just absolutely awful.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Nick Aldis, Latimer. Could you explain the booking here? Latimer beats him up for 10 minutes of an 11-minute match. And then Aldis wins with like a jackknife banana peel pinfall. Is this supposed to be a blood feud? This is supposed to be Tom. Did you watch the pre-match video?
Oh,
That's
yeah. It's good. It's Nick Aldis' kids blowing out candles, and Tom Latimer's there, and it's them on parties and traveling the world, and it's Nick Aldis saying, he's the reason I'm still in wrestling, and we traveled the world, we saw the world together, and then it cuts to him hitting a low blow, and then he threw it all away, and it's like, oh my God, okay, here we go. Like,
this man betrayed Aldis. He betrayed Aldis, his family. Aldis can't wait to get his hands on him. So you would think that he would beat him to a pulp, and maybe Latimer would just fucking give up, or maybe he'd beat him to a pulp, and the referee would stop the match due to the sheer brutality and disqualify Aldis or something. No, they went out there and like wrestled, and Latimer just dominated the match. And then Aldis wins. They do like a banana peel finish where he wins with like a jackknife pinning combination. The fuck is that finish? It didn't fit the tone of the match or the feud. So I didn't like this at all.
Yeah, I wanted to like it, and it was bad, and like the finish, like you said, it was just like a weird, like, we can't have Nick Aldis beat Tom Latimer. We got to like make sure that Tom Latimer keeps his heat, and
I was world champ for like
right.
Years.
They're trying to sell that Tom Latimer that the attack, that he's still selling the attack, so he's not at full power, but like, does this feud really need to continue? Like, I think that this was the blow-off, right? Just have it be the blow-off. Like, nobody is waiting for the multi-month Tom Latimer-Nick Aldis feud. But
Latimer's selling it like he got caught. Like, oh, no.
Yeah, I had him and then I lost it. And it's like, just have Nick Aldis beat this guy. Like, I was very, very dumbfounded by that. Unless they think that there's more time in this feud, and I would very much disagree with that. So
in Trevor Murdoch versus Mike Knox, I thought the angle to set up this very strange main event was very good. The match, not so much. Mike Knox brings nothing to the table.
In what universe is Mike Knox you're a guy that's going for your world title? Like, why? What are you doing?
I'm wondering if he worked the taping, because he was such a non-entity in this match that if he was,
I would have sent him home. I would have said,
Mike, here's your money. I'm going to pay you for the next 3 days of work, but your services won't be needed, sir. Thank you for coming by. And we'll call you. Don't call us. Because this was just a nothing match.
Nothing.
And Trevor Murdoch works hard in the NWA. I'll give him that. He works hard. And he couldn't get anything out of Mike Knox. So this did not work for me either. The final 3 matches really didn't work. The final 4 matches didn't work for me. I thought the first half of the show, the first 5 or 6 matches, I was enjoying the show. Now, I didn't hate the last 4 matches, but none of them did a thing for me. And I thought the main event was just such a dud. But I guess it was more about the post-match anyway, right?
Right. Matt Cardona comes out, and he's challenging for the title. And
really weird angle, though, because Cardona comes out, and he's kind of doing that disingenuous heel thing where he's congratulating Murdoch, but really he's being a dick. And then Knox gives a low blow to Murdoch, and then Mick Foley comes out.
Right. None of this is a lie. This all happened, by the way. If you're wondering, it sounds like a Mad Libs, but no, indeed, this is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Mick Foley in a Santa outfit came out.
Yeah, who had cut a promo earlier that really was a promo that I don't know, was totally pointless. But he comes out and he goes, I don't like what's happening to... I don't know why I'm doing the Mankind voice.
Yeah. Uncle Paul!
I don't like what's happening to Trevor Murdoch. So I've got something for you, Mike Knox. Bang, bang! And then the Pope comes out for some reason now. So now the Pope comes out and attacks Knox.
Okay, now you're making this up.
But then Knox just beats up the Pope like he didn't even save anybody. And then Foley's just gone. I don't know what, like, he came out.
He did his, and he was done. He was out. I did my thing. I'm done.
So there's no way that Mick Foley thought any of this was a good idea, right? He just did what he was told. Like, he knew this angle sucked, right? He has to know that this angle sucked.
Oh, yeah.
He had to have said to Billy, listen, wouldn't it be smarter if maybe I got involved and maybe I don't want to take bumps, but maybe they.
Oh yeah, he's one of the smartest guys in wrestling. Yeah, for sure. He's smart.
He couldn't have thought this was good because he just said, "I got something for you," and the Pope comes out, and then the Pope gets beat up, and Foley's nowhere to be found.
Rolls out of the ring and he's out.
He was at the podium. He just went back to the back. He was like, "Oh, I guess that didn't work out for the Pope. I'm out of here." And then you just fade to black with Mike Knox and Matt Cardona beating up Trevor Murdoch and the Pope. So I'm sure we're going to get a hot tag match at the taping at some point between those four. But that was hard times. I mean, some of it over delivered and some of it was very NWA.
I think it speaks to where NWA is at this time. Is I think there's a lot of really fun, interesting talent in the NWA, and people like a Colby Carino, even older guys like Austin Aries and Rhett Titus, I think bring a lot to the table. There's some fun stuff up and down the card, like La Rebellion, even people, like Camille or whatever, who's a push commodity or whatever. The problem is there's just so much old TNA, old bad WWE guys up and down the card, and it's hard to get really enthused with Latimer and Mike Knox and Molina and and that's
Judas.
Yeah, and I get why they do that, but it's I don't know. It makes some of these big, because those are the people that they think are the stars, but it makes the last half of the card usually much, much worse than the first half of the card.
Yeah,
they're just not good wrestlers. They don't look like they're in. I don't know. It's tough. I don't know.
Listen, he wants Tyrus on TV in front of 800,000 people every night with that title over his shoulder. So I don't think the Tyrus push is going to stop. Do I think those reverse mortgage motherfuckers that are watching Fox News at 11 o'clock at night are going to subscribe to the NWA on Fight? I don't. But that's the idea behind that, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You just kind of have to understand that that's the mindset. The other guys are all friends of Aldis and friends of Billy from the TNA days, and I guess he feels like these are good, solid veteran hands, and in some ways they are. But the TV show is just beyond dreadful. It's worse than NXT 2.0 in a lot of ways. And I was expecting this pay-per-view to be my breaking point. I was expecting to come on here today and say I finally unsubscribed to the Fight show and I can't do it anymore. But the pay-per-view wasn't that bad. They kept me as a customer with this pay-per-view. Can you believe that? They have kept me as a customer with this pay-per-view, this Hard Times 2. So I'm going to stick. And now they're starting this new show that's going to be free on YouTube again, which I think is a smart move, actually. Did you see that?
Yeah. I think that is probably a better way to do it. The Fight is just, you're just so limiting the amount of people that are going to be able to find your stuff.
Yeah. So I think they're doing two shows now, the Fight show, and now they're going to have this YouTube show. What is it called? NWA USA or something like that. But that's starting, I think, this week, as a matter of fact. So, I think that's a good idea because, I think they lost a lot of attention they were getting in the space when they weren't free on YouTube anymore. But at the same time, the show has been so bad. Maybe it's better that it was hidden. Because it really is atrocious. It's some of the worst wrestling I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Season 6 of the NWA. It's maybe the worst wrestling television show. It's just irredeemably bad.
That is NWA Hard Times 2. Real quick, we're basically out of time. Do you want to real quickly go over TripleMania?
Oh, I can do TripleMania super fast.
Yeah, go ahead. I did not see a second from TripleMania, so go ahead.
Worst show of the year.
Really? Wow.
The worst wrestling show I saw all year. Yeah. Everything sucked. A terrible show. Don't waste your time. Rich, I promise you, don't watch. There's no reason for you to watch. It's awful. Terrible. I hated everything on this show. Stunk. There's your TripleMania review.
Wow. Okay, so even the main event, not worth watching?
No. Listen, if you want to watch a collection of spots where one doesn't have anything to do with the other, and most of them were kind of pulled off nicely because they're pros, sure, go ahead and watch the main event. But even Vikingo, who rules, kind of did a mini botch at the end. It's just not good.
Yeah.
And that was probably the best match. I mean, if you get off on LA Park ripping Cain Velasquez,
yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of praise for this so far. So
FTR Lucha Brothers was the shits. I mean, I guess Dragon Lee and Jalisco versus Laredo Kid and Willie Mack was okay. That was okay. The rest of this was it was terrible. Like the opener where, Poder del Norte are usually very good. I like those guys. It didn't have any of the fun or charm of the usual wild 3-way 6-man tag opener.
Yeah.
Didn't have any of that. It just wasn't any fun at all. The women's match, as the AAA women's multi-women matches are always really bad. This was no exception. Sam Adonis did a moonsault to the floor. He was supposed to do it to Chessman, who was on gurney, but he completely missed and just splatted on the floor. It's just ugly stuff. That match stunk. It was basically like 4-on-3 because Estrelita kept getting involved, and there's just no. When AAA goes wrong, it's really like a terrible promotion. When AAA goes right and it's fun and it's wacky, it's a really fun promotion. But when it goes wrong, it's unwatchable. This was like watching Game Changer at their worst. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just kind of sloppy, weird, low class kind of stuff. Yeah,
shitty, low class, trashy wrestling is what this was. This was like watching a Game Changer show where it's like I don't know, like most Game Changer shows actually, to be honest. But it sucked. I hated this show. I had to take a couple breaks. If I didn't do this podcast, I would have never finished this show. I hated it that much.
Yeah, really.
It was terrible. Awful.
And that is it for the flagship there. MyBookie.ag, promo code VOICES, double your first deposit. Patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling. As we mentioned, the exclusive All Japan news, some exclusive audio, a lot of other great stuff up there as well. And that is it for us. So make sure you join voicesofwrestling.com/Discord, patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling. And that is it for us. So for Joe Lanza, I'm Rich Craich. We'll talk to you next. 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 We'll talk to you next.